You know it's this. Take a perk and talk it and see. Money swallowed like sis. They done perfected the kid. Got a billion who take on my hate. Nothing better. Put out the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil, they shit ain't not cheaper than
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the 7th part of What If Naruto Joins Digimon World. Special note, this fanfic is written in a masterpiece of KitsuneDragon on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Previously on the series, what's an asshole? You called DORUMON, that Caluman asked again. Yeah, Taketomon, what's that? Takato and Naruto looked at each other as they tried to explain the vulgar word. Rika-chan, a little help please, Naruto pleaded. Rika chuckled before going up to Renamon, who picked her up. The two females smirked. Have fun, they said before Renamon blurred out of existence. Henry. But when they looked they found him already a few miles away, running as fast as he could. The two Tamers sighed. They mumbled. What does that word mean? Caluman and Gilman asked. Takato and Naruto looked at each other while Dorumon and Gatomon were snickering at the sight. Why us? The two Tamers thought. Now, Naruto, Rika, Takato and Henry were all playing a game of Go Fish as the day went by. It had been at least 3 days since Vajramon and Pajaramon had been defeated at the hands of Rapidmon and Tailmon. Kazu and Kenta were sitting there with the Tamers and their Digimon joining the game of cards. Rika-chan, do you have any fives? Naruto asked. Nope, Go Fish, the redhead told her boyfriend with a smirk on her face. Naruto face faulted as he was denied his card. Oh man, that's like what, the 5th time I couldn't get a card? The blonde frowned. The expression on his face made the group laugh at his expense before they heard the sound of running. Naruto looked up from his face faulting and looked at the stairs, along with everyone else, as they saw someone running up the stone steps towards the shed. It's just Jerry-san. No need to be alarmed, Dorumon said after sniffing the air. Jerry-chan, Takato exclaimed. The girl he had a crush on was coming here. Takato suddenly began to panic before just sitting down before his brain had a meltdown. The brown-eyed girl was wearing her usual outfit of a cream-colored shirt beneath a green dress, white socks and sneakers, her brown hair tied into 2 small tails by 2 pink bows or whatever you call those things she puts in her hair. Oi Mina-san, she called out to the group. She immediately bypassed everyone before heading over to Takato. Takato-kun, can I be a tamer now? She asked. Takato blushed slightly at the suffix, but looked confused. Nani? He noticed her gripping something in her hands. A large stack of Digimon cards. I got cards just like everyone else. I was wondering if maybe you could teach me so that then I could become a tamer just like you guys, Jerry pleaded. Her eyes doing that wobbly thing that all anime characters are able to do when they enlarge their eyeballs through some unknown thing. Takato stared. Ooh, was all that he was able to say before Rika and Naruto walked over to her. Don't worry, Rika-chan and I could teach you, but just because you will know how to play does not automatically make you a tamer, Naruto said. Jerry nodded. Arigato, Naruto, Rika, she said with a smile. Okay, now then, in order to be a good Digimon card player you need to have a good balanced deck, with the use of power for strong attacks, but also those for defense, and abilities that aid in allowing your Digimon to do some damage as well. Rika began to explain. Kazu and Kenta in the meanwhile were looking at the deck that Jerry had handed to them for the boys to hold while she listened. Whoa, she has some really good cards, Kazu said. Yeah, I don't have this one. I would give her 5 of mine for that one, Kenta said as he adjusted his glasses. Kazu looked at the group who were busy explaining to Jerry on how to play the game. Kazu smirked before reaching to take a card for his own from Jerry's deck. But then a Snow-White Blue grabbed the card and the deck from his hand. Kazu looked up to see the 7-foot-tall kitsune of a Digimon staring down at him with a hard gaze, her glacial blue eyes acting as if they were about to stare into his soul, freeze it and crush it into itty-bitty pieces. Hey there, Renamon, I wasn't going to steal a card, he said nervously. Sure you weren't? The blonde kitsune rolled her eyes before walking towards the others. After a few minutes, Jerry had understood the concept of the game and how to play it and what cards to use in certain situations. Wow, I had no idea that Digimon was such a hard thing to learn, Jerry said, scratching her head in embarrassment. Not a problem. You just took a bit longer to understand the game is all, Jerry-chan, Takato said. After that, Jerry gave a smile to the goggle-wearing tamer. Arigato, Takato-kun, Jerry said before turning to leave, taking her cards from Renamon and then heading down the stairs. That's one weird girl, Naruto said as he watched the preteen leave the area. For sure, Rika and Henry said before everyone turned to face Takato. What do you see in her? Everyone, including the Digimon, asked. Gilman, you're siding with them. You're supposed to be my friend, Takato whined. Gilman frowned. You are my friend Takatomon. But Narutomon told me that in embarrassing situations I don't always have to take your side, Gilman said with a smile. Takato turned towards Naruto and looked at him with a sweat drop. You're corrupting my Digimon, the goggle-wearing Tamer said. Naruto chuckled and gave a high five to his Digimon partners and Gilman. Plan turn Gilman over to the dark side, complete the Jinchuriki said with a toothy grin. Hell yeah, Gatomon and Dorumon said. Meanwhile with Jerry was walking down the path, the sunlight touching the red brick path through the spaces between the tree leaves. I wonder when I'll get my Digimon partner, maybe then I could become a tamer, Jerry said to herself. Then she heard a rustling in the bushes. She looked down to see the white, bunny-looking Digimon. Calumen? Jerry asked. Calumen looked up after falling out of the bushes and dusted himself off. His ears expanded in happiness before jumping into Jerry's arms. Jerry, Calumen said with a large smile. Calumen, you're a Digimon, right? Jerry asked as an idea came to her mind. Calumen tilted his head to the side slightly and blinked. Yeah, that is what I was last time I checked. Why am I not a Digimon? The light of Digivolution asked. Jerry smiled. Great, so this is it. This means that you are my partner and I will be your tamer, Jerry said with a fire burning in her eyes. Calumen looked oddly at the sock puppet-wearing girl. Tamer. Calumen looked confused, but shrugged. The little cream puff had no idea what was going on, but it sounded fun. Okay, sure. Ryalu. Oh, arigato, Calumen, Jerry said as she began to esquisse Calumen, his head somehow expanding as it was being crushed in the girl's arms. Ag. Jerry gasped, choking. Not gasp, wheeze, breathing. Calumen managed to gasp out as his short life began to flash before his eyes and he saw a white light. Calumen's normally white persona began to turn blue, his eyes starting to roll upwards before Jerry let him go, allowing him to leave the presence of the white light he had seen before as he was dying. Gomen Nasai, Calumen, Jerry said with a chuckle. Calumen sighed. No problem, but next time, try not to choke the life out of me, the small little rookie Digimon said. Jerry nodded and the alleged partner and tamer began to continue walking through the park. Unknown to them, just a few feet ahead, in the underground sewer, a digital field sprung up before a Digimon appeared. The Digimon looked around the disgusting area before seeing a ladder leading to the surface. Ha, the Digimon chuckled. Now I can go to the surface and wreak havoc upon the humans. The Digimon climbed the ladder with what looked like sticks for limbs. As it climbed, it poked its head upwards in order to raise the manhole cover that blocked its way. Red eyes scanned the area before the Digimon released another evil laugh. Ha ha ha, without anyone to stop me, the sovereigns will finally raise me up from the rank of weakest diva. The unknown, now classified as a diva, Digimon said. However, it was during the time that when the diva chose to raise the manhole cover that Jerry decided to walk over it. So after that little monologue made by the diva Digimon, Jerry's foot was strategically placed atop the manhole cover and it slammed down on the Digimon's head, earning a yelp of pain as the Digimon lost its balance and fell back into the polluted waters of the sewer. Itachi, the Digimon groaned. The Digimon growled before jumping and blasting through the manhole and arriving into the light of the sun as he surfaced. Jerry and Calumen turned around to see the unknown Digimon standing there. The alleged partner and tamer stared at the weird-looking Digimon. It had an odd orb-shaped body, kind of like Syndromon's, except had the kanji for rat in black in the center. 4 skinny white limbs poked through 4 holes in the orb, and the feet and lower leg area was covered by bronze-colored boots, if you could them that. 2 bronze-colored wings sprouted out of its back and a metallic gray tail swung behind it. On its back, made of the green metal, was a Bao-Chu. The oddest thing of all, though, was that its head was that of a white rat. 3 horns placed in a triangle formation on its forehead and red tattoos on its cheeks. What the? Ah, Digimon. Quick, Calumen. Jerry thrust Calumen forward. Protect me, she cried out. Calumen freaked out and hid behind Jerry's leg. I'm not a fighter, I'm a crowd pleaser, the cream puff Digimon retorted. Jerry then stared at the mouse, chicken, metal thing. Some Digimon partner you are, she grumbled. Are you my Digimon partner? Jerry asked, pointing at the Digimon. The Digimon snorted and laughed. Me, I wouldn't be your partner for all the diggy cake in the world. I am a diva, the rat diva, Kumbaramon, and I have come to destroy all humankind, starting with you, the now notified. Kumbaramon said with an evil glint in his eyes. Jerry and Calumen screamed as they ran away. Kumbaramon chased after them using surprising speed for such a small body. The two tried to lose the rat diva, but everywhere they went, he followed. Then they arrived at Fountain area where Jerry and Calumen had finally lost sight of the little rat diva. Phew, he's gone, Calumen sighed. Yeah, he's not gonna find us for quite a while, the brown-haired girl added with a smirk. However, their short bit of happiness was ruined when Kumpuruman jumped down from a nearby tree and landed on one of the nozzles of the fountain, whose stream of water had just fallen back into the nozzle. Haha, no escape for you now, little girl. I will now kill you, Kumpuruman said, his teeth snapping together, making that sound like when a mouse eats cheese. Jerry and Calumen took a step back as the rat diva took a step forwards before a gurgling sound was heard. The one human and two Digimon looked down to see the water suddenly burst out of the nozzle Kumpuruman was standing on before being rocketed into the sky, and then crashing down on the ground in a heap of limbs. Then as the rat diva stood to his oddly shaped feet, another flash of data appeared and a digital field opened up to reveal a large lion-looking Digimon with a yellow-colored mane and deep electric blue eyes. It was bipedal since it was standing on two legs. Its muscles tightened as the lion Digimon spotted Kumpuruman. It took out a short sword, made of black steel, from the scabbard on its belt before shifting into a fighting stance, gripping the blade in a reverse grip. It wore a pair of long black cargo pants and wore steel knuckles on its left hand and wore many belt-like bands around its arms. Hey, it's Leomon, Calumen shouted in excitement. He came to save me. Jerry stared at the yellow-maned lion Digimon. He must be my partner Digimon. Stars appeared in Jerry's eyes as Leomon jumped into the air. Leomon then stabbed his sword downwards, but the rat diva simply sidestepped the attack before shooting a kick to Leomon's side, who simply caught the oddly shaped leg and then standing up, which caused the shorter ultimate level Digimon to be picked up off the ground, and then with a mighty swing Kumpuruman was thrown over Leomon's shoulder and into the pavement, skidding along it before crashing into a tree. The rat diva growled, "I'll be back for you, Leomon," and you two human Kumpuruman quickly sped away into the forest of the park. Leomon pulled his sword from the slit it made in the pavement before sheathing the blade and began to walk away. The champion-level Digimon paused, however, when he felt something grab his arm. Arigato, Leomon. Jerry blushed slightly as he saw a weird, lustful-looking look in her brown eyes. Leomon blinked twice. He only managed an ooh before Jerry spoke again. "So does that mean you're my Digimon partner?" Jerry asked. The lion Digimon blinked, but before he could answer, "This is so great. I'm finally a tamer just like Takato-kun. We're gonna be the best." "Listen here, Gaki," Leomon interrupted the girl. Jerry stared up at the bipedal lion in pants. "I work alone. I only know the art of battle, and if I'm a partner to a human, you'll only slow me down." Leomon then took off. "Mateo, Leomon." Jerry chased after the lion Digimon. The Beast King looked back and sweat dropped as he saw Calumen and the girl following him wherever he went. He quickly hid behind a tree as he rounded a corner and sighed in relief. Of course, when he looked out to see if she was gone, she was, but Calumen wasn't. "Oi, Jerry, she's over here," Calumen shouted out. Leomon growled in annoyance and took off, speeding past Jerry as she was running towards him. The young girl and small cream puff Digimon followed the lion Digimon wherever he went. He even thought he had found solitude when he found Gilman's shed and hid there. But as Jerry ran past, Calumen spotted him. "Oi, Jerry, he's..." "Oh no, you don't, you little cream puff." Leomon reached and his large hands covered Calumen's mouth and thus muffled his cries. The Beast King's sweat dropped, his left eye twitching in annoyance as Jerry had somehow heard Calumen and found him. "Come on, Leomon, you're supposed to be my Digimon partner," Jerry said. Leomon ran his fingers through his mane as he sighed. "Listen here, Gaki, you're a kid and I fight alone. Alone. I work with no one but myself and this sword." Leomon snarled and then turned. Jerry's eyes widened as she stared at the sharp canines of the Beast King, his rounded pupils turning into vertical slits. Leomon then turned and walked away, leaving Jerry staring after him. She wanted to yell for him, but her words froze, forming an invisible lump in her throat. Jerry sighed and began to walk away. She walked down the stairs, leaving the shed once more before reaching the red brick path that led out of the park. "With the Tamers. And so I took my rasengan and slammed it into his Chidori before it broke through and hit the team in his stomach, sending him spiraling through the air and into the hole he made in the statue he had slammed into before," Naruto said as he finished his story about how he fought Sasuke. They were all sitting in Naruto's apartment previously watching television until Takato had asked about Naruto's fights as a shinobi. And of course Naruto had to retell most of them with excruciating detail. Sugoi, the other three Tamers, Terrorman, Dorumon, Gatomon and Gilman said. Renamon's eyes widened as she listened from her place on the kitchen counter, tapping her claws on the countertop. "The remarkable thing is that he's not lying. Such power these shinobi possess," the Kitsune Digimon thought. Then beeps originated from the pockets of the four Digimon Tamers as their D-Arcs detected a bio-emergence. "Strange. The D-Arc says how that this Digimon appeared earlier. Why didn't it pick it up before?" Naruto asked himself. "Could have been a signal interference, but at least we got it," Henry said. "Akuzo," Takato announced, and they left the apartment. Shinjuku Park. Jerry was walking along the red brick path, Calumen resting atop her head. Alwa, Jerry's so sad. I wish I could help her, he said to himself, for he knew that when Jerry was in a depression of any kind, any words she should be able to hear fell on deaf ears. His ears retracted as he too became depressed, and Calumen and Jerry remained silent. The girl stopped, however, when a familiar face reappeared. "Ah, it's the crossbreed rat thing." Jerry and Calumen cried out. Kumperman growled. "I am no crossbreed thing, human," the rat diva cried out before flapping his wings slightly. He then took off towards the girl and small Digimon. However, a cry of pyrosphere echoed throughout the area, and a small ball of red flame soared through the air at goddamn fast speeds and impacting with the diva, sending it skidding through the air slightly. Kumpiaman narrowed his eyes as he looked at the forest and saw the 4 Tamers along with the 5 Digimon appear from their depths. HMPH, more of you Gakis and those Digibakas who dare to side with that not of the Sovereign One, Kumpiaman said, his crimson eyes staring at them. Rika's D-Arc scanned the Digimon and a hologram with data on the Digimon came up. Kumperman, ultimate level Digimon. He's a follower of Ebonwoman and it says he's a pervert. Her eyes widened at that before reading more. He plays the part of the challenger, wanting to predict the mindset of the opponent during the fight. Attacks are Diva Clone and Baochu, the redhead read from her D-Arc. Kumperman then observed the Digimon before focusing on Gatomon. His eyes then widened and then a sly smirk played itself on his face as the diva settled on the ground and winked at the feline Digimon. Gatomon's eyes widened before growling, a look of disgust found on her face. "Now you there, Gatomon, why not join our cause? I can tell you have that fire in you that the Sovereign One would dearly appreciate, unlike these humans would. And as an added bonus, you could have the honor of hanging out with yours truly, a great diva." Gatomon's eyes, along with Dorumon's, turned slitted as they glared at Kumperman, and Naruto's flashed crimson. "Do you guys mind if we take this fight?" Naruto growled, his hands flexing, wanting to crush the rat diva for making a move on his Digimon partner. "Oh well, yes, sure," Henry and Rika said. "Can I at least get one hit in, please?" Takato asked. Gilman repeated the question. Naruto nodded. "Hi, but make it quick, we want to utterly crush this rat," Gatomon hissed. Takato pumped his fist into the air. "Okay, Gilman, try out that combo we've been working on," Takato said. Gilman nodded and his pupils dilated as he let his viral nature surface. The red reptile charged forward with an attempt at growling, but failed miserably. Kumperman stopped flirting, failing in doing so with Gatomon, and looked to see the digital hazard Digimon rush him. Kumperman smirked before sidestepping the dinosaur and then kicked out with one of his feet, but Gilman ducked underneath it and smirked. "Do it, Gilman," Takato yelled out to his partner. Gilman nodded before leaping into the air and front flipping. "Rock breaker," he yelled, but instead of just his claws, Gilman's entire being was coated in flames. Gilman stopped flipping and dived forwards and then opened his mouth as a pyrosphere formed. However, instead of firing it, he grabbed it from his mouth and held it in his hand. He then formed another one and smirked as he transferred all the flames surrounding his body and into the already burning hot flame orbs. "Takato, you rip-off artist," Naruto growled. "Oi, no need to be hating on it," Takato said, holding up his hands in a feeble defense. Racing Kadebakufu, spiraling fire explosion. The virus-type Digimon yelled. Kumperman's eyes widened before jumping back to avoid the attack. One of the spheres caused a large crater along with an explosion of fire. Kumperman stared in shock along with everyone else, except Takato, at the damage done. Gilman then rushed through the flames and dust, the other orb held in his palm before thrusting it forward. Kumperman quickly used the art of telekinesis and levitated the Baochu on his back to hold it front of him and then swung at Gilman. Gilman growled, and unlike every other time, he managed to roar, not a whiny nasally one, but a real, bestial roar. The sound reached the ears of all present before they watched the fire orb break through the Baochu in a stream of fire that continued its path before slamming into the rat diva, sending it into the waiting fist of the Beast King. Attack from Lehman. Everyone turned to see Lehman standing there, his fist holding the last few embers of the fiery lion-shaped attack. Kumperman stood. He had taken a bit of damage from the attacks, but nothing serious. "Lehman," Jerry asked. "I did not come here to help you, kid. I heard fighting, so I came to fight," Lehman stated to Jerry. "Jerry-chan, you know Lehman?" Takato asked. "Is he your?" Jerry shook her head. "No, he says I would only hold him back in battle," Jerry said, explaining Lehman's reason to not be her tamer. "Well, a Digimon must choose its partner and Lehman does not want you, Jerry," Naruto said. Jerry's head lowered as Naruto placed a hand on her shoulder. "You will have to respect his decision." "I know," Naruto, the brown-haired girl, replied with a sigh. Naruto, Dorumon, and Gatomon then walked up to the battlefront as Gilman walked away, having taken his one shot. "Nice attack, Takato, but still a rip-off of my rasengan," Naruto said. Takato chuckled nervously. Kumpuruman stood to his feet as he looked between Leomon and the blonde tamer and the two Digimon partners. I'm outta here, the rat diva said before jumping, flapping his wings. Leomon and Naruto growled. Oh no you don't. The two jumped into the air and flipped before crashing their heels in a brutal double axe kick to the diva's wings. A satisfying snap was heard as the two attacks crashed into the bones of the wings. Kumpuruman cried out in pain before plummeting to the ground. Naruto and Leomon looked as Kumpuruman fell, creating a small cloud of dust upon impact. Naruto and Leomon landed on the ground before looking at each other, electric blue staring into sapphire blue. The two nodded to each other, respecting each other for their fighting skills. You are quite strong for a human, Leomon commented. Arigato, not bad technique for an amateur fighter, Naruto said. Amateur, Leomon said shocked. Naruto nodded as he looked as Kumpuruman stood nursing his broken wings. Hi, your technique has many flaws. While in the middle of that axe kick you lost a bit of your momentum, so it was weaker than it should have been. Also your leg locks in place too tightly when you execute it. I could have easily blocked it and while it was locked, broken your leg, Naruto explained. Leomon's eyes widened. Such observational skills for such a young looking human. But it's his eyes ... He's been in more serious battles, life-threatening, Leomon noticed. He's strong. But I hope what I told him will allow Leomon to gain strength should he be an ally, Naruto thought. Kumpuruman stood to his feet and growled. That's it, no more Mr. Nice Diva. The rat diva roared before channeling a multicolored energy around him. His form suddenly then split into 5 clones of himself. Diva clone, the diva said with a smirk. The clones in the original surrounded Leomon and smirked at the lion. Mateo, Naruto said, holding back his two partners. Let's see how Leomon does in this. Besides, I want no distractions when I show Kumpuruman how many clones I can make, Naruto said with a smirk. The 6 Kumpuruman suddenly began to circle Leomon before spinning so fast they looked like a wheel of colors that slowly began to constrict, nearing Leomon. Leomon looked around as he tried to find a way out and then jumped to escape. However, one of the diva clones jumped and body slammed into the Beast King, sending him back to the ground. However, it was just before he touched the ground that the clones in the original made their moves. All 6 flew forward and crashed simultaneously into Leomon. However, when all the Kumpuruman had impacted with the Beast King, he smirked before twisting his body around, allowing him to free himself, land on the ground to position himself in a handstand before spinning, performing a windmill that caused many kicks to lash out and strike the 5 clones in the original, sending them skidding backwards. Leomon then jumped into the air and rapidly punched the air, and then punching it a 7th time. Fist of the Beast King. The Beast King yelled before 6 lion-shaped blasts of fire-like energy were launched from his fist, swerving in one specific direction attack each Kumpuruman. Kumpuruman growled before dodging them, but 2 of his clones were hit, causing them to fade away as data. The rat diva and his 3 remaining clones leaped at Leomon. One tried to headbutt him, but he ducked under it before lashing out with a spin kick before back flipping over another that tried to hit him FRM behind and then dropped down low after a clone sailed over his head and then jumped to his feet and performed a Fist of the Beast King at close range, killing a clone that tried to attack him, leaving only 3 Kumpuruman left. However, Leomon, who after much dodging and counter-attacking was finally becoming exhausted as the 3 remaining Kumpuruman began to beat down on the lion Digimon before the 3 attacked simultaneously, and Leomon was sent flying through the air. The wind knocked out of his lungs before crashing into the trunk of a thick tree. The diva smirked before turning to Gatomon. You see, my dear Gatomon, with me you can have power beyond your wildest dreams. You even be my mate. Kumpuruman smirked pervertedly. What do you say to that? Gatomon glared before her claws twitched. I say fuck off, you perverted excuse for a Digimon. Naruto, Dorumon and the others smirked at that response, while Kumpuruman fumed. Nanny, you would rather hang out with this tame Digimon and that human than be free with your own kind. That dragon-looking freak, the Sovereign said he was an evil Digimon who could destroy the digital world, and that human is not even human. Kumpuruman shouted. You're a disgrace to our race, Gatomon. Those 2, the male human and that Digimon, you and them both, what are you, some kind of Digimon slut just wanting to URK? Kumpuruman was silenced as the words were literally trapped in his throat. Dorumon and Naruto had used unforeseen speed to arrive in front of the 3 remaining Kumpuruman, and Naruto grabbed the one that was talking by his throat. You dare to insult my Digimon? Naruto growled as his voice became darker. Huubai ... we take him down, no mercy. Ha 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 ha, excellent, well here you go. Make me proud, Kit. Slaughter that mouse. Kyuubai laughed within the confines of Naruto's mind. Will do, Kyuubai ... and I'll do even much more than slaughter. I'm gonna fucking annihilate him, the blonde thought before gripping the Kumpuruman in his hand and crushing it. An audible snap was heard throughout the area as everyone stared in shock as the clone disappeared as data. The original Kumbaramon then watched as Dorumon and Gatomon appeared in front of his last remaining clone and impaled it through the skull with their claws. Kumbaramon quickly jumped backwards and then growled, "You cannot defeat me, fools. That attack caught me off guard, but not this time," the rat diva announced as he formed another batch of clones. Diva clone. Then 6 clones formed, making there be 7 Kumbaramons standing before the trio. Dorumon, Gatomon, Naruto said to his partners as he looked at the 7 rat devas in front of him. "Hi. You can have him, but remember, no F mercy," the 2 Digimon said as they backed off. Naruto smirked, his eyes now fully crimson, his whisker marks broader and darker, fangs and claws from his nails and teeth elongating, and his hair becoming wilder as the Kyuubi's Yaokai formed a red aura around him, like the silhouette of a tailless kitsune. Naruto smirked as he took one step towards Kumbaramon, killing intent spreading throughout the area. No mercy, Naruto reminded himself before forming his all-favorite jutsu, the cross-shaped hand sign coming to life. Kagebenshin no Jutsu. In a burst of Yaokai, Naruto formed over 100 clones. He could have formed more, but that would be overkill and obviously attract unwanted attention towards the secluded area of the park. "You can make clones. Let's see how fare against mine." Nani. The 7 forms of the rat diva stuttered in surprise. Why you're a FF freak, Kumbaramon said. Naruto chuckled as he looked at his clones. "I've been called worse, rat diva, and you should be one to talk. You're like a fucking combination of shit. A rat tail and head, rooster wings and a ball for a body," Naruto said, and then he and his few hundred clones took a step forward. Kumbaramon nearly shit himself, and would have if was able to produce adjusted material from the lack of intestines he possessed. "Prepare to die," Naruto roared before he and his clones charged forwards. The 7 forms of Kumbaramon could only scream in pain as they were ruthlessly pummeled by the clones. For several minutes, nearly 1 hour of attacks, Naruto had held back slightly in order for the rat diva to still be alive after all of it. Except for the clones, those were hit especially hard as they vanished within the first half hour. The clones then puffed out of existence, leaving only the original Naruto and the original Kumbaramon. Naruto smirked before performing a last combo to kill the diva. He grabbed it by its head and then punched Kumbaramon in the face before using Shunshin to appear behind him to perform a roundhouse kick that sent the diva soaring through the air once more. Naruto raced alongside the flying diva that was screaming in fear and pain before grabbing the diva in mid-flight and slamming him into the ground and repeatedly punched him until the ball that made the rat diva's torso and body began to crack and creak from the strain. Naruto then threw Kumbaramon into the air and then jumped to meet him there. He then rapidly punched the diva before flipping to bring down an axe kick on the diva, sending him into the ground before dropping down like a pin and planted his feet into the diva's head and then lifted the diva by his ears with a sadistic smirk on his face. "If you are ever reborn in the digital world after this, remember my face. I am Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune," Naruto growled as he formed a violet-colored rasengan. Then out of the fun of it, he added wind chakra to increase its slicing power. A screech was heard and Naruto looked as the rasengan was suddenly encased in a shuriken made out of pure wind chakra. Naruto watched in awe before smirking. "FUNN, rasengan." He yelled and thrust the attack forward and then sent it into the body of Kumbaramon so that he would go skyward. Kumbaramon was sent spiraling upwards as the FUNN rasengan took off and went into the body of Kumbaramon before beginning to spin rapidly, the screeching sound getting louder before a large tornado of wind chakra formed in the air and utterly destroyed the diva, red flakes of data mixing with the whirlwind before dying down and nothing was left. The red aura left Naruto as the Jinchuriki recalled the Kyuubi's chakra and sighed. "I wonder how I did that," he whispered to himself. He looked at his right hand where he had held the wind-style version of the rasengan. "Well, Kit, you did read your father's scroll, didn't you?" Kyuubi asked. Naruto nodded mentally. "Hi, I read Odu-san's scroll. What about it? Og, even after all of this, you still suck at theory work." Kyuubi face-palmed or face-pawed. Naruto's sweat dropped. "Anyways, your father had written the aspects of the rasengan in the scroll. Remember, he said it was an incomplete jutsu to combine shape and nature manipulation." "Oh yeah, didn't you teach me nature manipulation before though?" Naruto asked. Kyuubi nodded. "Hi, I did, but you never applied to the rasengan before. The rasengan is a mastery of shape manipulation, which is why it has a spherical shape. By adding your chakra nature, your main one being wind while your sub-elemental chakra natures are water and earth due to your relations with the Shodaime Hokage. You also have the other 2 elements of lightning and fire from myself. But your father had a wind chakra nature, so the rasengan was meant to be a FUNN jutsu," the behemoth of a fox explained. Naruto nodded. I see, so I just need to add my chakra nature to the rasengan and it will be complete. But didn't I do that just now? Partially. It is still incomplete while you were using the FUNN rasengan. The wind chakra input was still a bit unstable. The FUNN rasengan is what would be a weaker version of what I assume would be an even more powerful, complete version of it, Kyuubi said. Okay, also, due to my relations to the first Hokage, my original affinity for wind and you, I have an affinity for all 5 elements of chakra. Naruto asked. Hi, but your water, earth and wind natures are most prominent. The fire affinity is easier to use since it is my main element. However, my lightning nature will be hard for you to control. After all, lightning is unpredictable, lashing out whenever it wants to. Lightning, you could say, has its own consciousness. I also had trouble mastering it while I was split off from the Jubai, Kyuubi explained. The Jubai? Naruto asked. Kyuubi shook his head. Another story for another time. Right now we should go home and you should move right about now. You're on your knees staring at a tree right now and your friends think you're dead. I'll explain everything when we get home. Come into your mindscape when you do though. These explanations are done better through sight than sound. Naruto nodded before cutting off his connection with Kyuubi and then looking up, his sapphire blue eyes staring into the violet-gray ones of Rika Nanaka. Naruto-kun, are you okay? You spaced out for a while, Rika asked. Naruto shook his head and stood to his feet. I'm fine. Rika-chan just a bit tired from the fight is all. He lied. He wasn't even winded during that fight. That was obviously the weakest of the diva, Naruto realized. Well, now that that's over with, let's go home, Takato said. I want bread, Gilman whined. Lehman stood to his feet and groaned, rubbing his head. You okay? Naruto asked the lion Digimon after noticing him moving. Lehman nodded. Hi, just a bit dizzy. That diva was weak but he managed to exhaust me after having me dodge and counter-attack his clones so much, Lehman said. Excuses, you're just plain weak, Naruto joked, a chuckle following behind it. The bipedal lion nodded before turning and walking away. Mateo, Lehman, Jerry called out. Lehman turned to Jerry and shook his head. Listen here, Gaki, you may be small, but I can see that you have a lion's heart. You care for others and wouldn't be afraid if it means that your friends are at risk and you are able to do something to help. I would be your partner if I could. But not now. Lehman then walked off down the path into the sunset. Everyone watched the Beast King walk away. Anyone notice he was walking off into the sunset? I mean, really, it's like somebody is controlling this very existence. I mean, the sun was shining just a moment ago, Naruto said. True, but you were fighting for quite a while, Henry said. That is true, Henry, but I can't help but feel like as if all these escapades and fights in this life is suddenly some kind of story and people are reading it and are now either laughing or sighing at the fact that I'm noticing this, Naruto said. The others shrugged and then left for home. Naruto sent a Kagebenshin to aid Rinamen in walking Rika home while he walked away with Dorumon and Gatomon. Naruto shuddered and sneezed as he walked. You okay, Naruto? Getting a bit sneezy there. Gatomon asked. No, it's just that I have this feeling that someone wants to kill me for that thing I said earlier, Naruto said to his partners. Well, ignore it, it's probably nothing. Yeah, Naruto. Dorumon and Gatomon then walked for a few hours until they reached the apartment before falling asleep. Naruto on his bottom bunk and Dorumon and Gatomon on their shared top bunk. With Takato, it was now summer vacation. The time for fun and no school. 2 months of pure, unadulterated freedom from the education system of the world for the young minds of the city of Shinjuku. Takato was at home packing for a trip to a nearby island where his cousin Kai lived. He was busy packing, jumping up and down on the bag to try and force everything down. This ought to do it, he said with a final jump. The small suitcase was forced closed and he managed to zip it closed. Takatomon, how will I go on the boat? Other people might see me, Gilman asked. Takato had managed to sneak Gilman home and get him upstairs, and as Gilman asked the question, Takato gave his partner a smirk. Takato then reached into his closet and pulled out a rather large suitcase. This is where you will be hiding, Takato told the red dinosaur Digimon. Oh, Gilman's yellow eyes blinked before he suddenly found himself being pulled into the woven case and stuffed there as Takato closed the bag shut. The goggle-wearing tamer then grabbed both of his suitcases and took them downstairs. The first one he packed was small enough for him to strap onto his back with the straps it had, while he had to struggle to carry Gilman's. Takatomon, it's dark and hard to breathe in here, Gilman said as he poked a claw through the material to allow him to see as well as breathe. Of course, this was when Takato had finally made it downstairs where his mother was. Takato, did you say something? The brown-haired woman asked as she gave a bag of bread to another customer. Takato began to sweat slightly. Oh no, Aka-chan. Just talking to myself about how it might get dark and hard to breathe where Kai lives, Takato explained. Oh, well, don't worry, Kai lives on an island so breathing won't be a problem. but it can get pretty dark, so be careful, Mrs. Matsuki said as she walked up to her son and gave him a hug. Do you have your bus money? She asked. Hi. Your clean clothes and toothbrush? Hi. Clean underwear? Hi. Aka-chan, Takato said, rolling his eyes. Mrs. Matsuki smiled at the goggle-wearing preteen before hugging him. I'll see you in 2 months, okay honey? Hi. Tell Aru-san I left, Takato said, and then rolled out the suitcase which had Gilman in it as well as his backpack-like suitcase. Takato then went to the bus stop and paid the bus driver before setting off with the disguised Gilman towards the airport. With Henry, let's suit, check waterproof camera, check. A few sets of clean clothes, check cell phone, check. Henry threw away the checklist he had set for himself as he picked up D-Arc off the computer desk of his room. He then closed the small suitcase he had and then walked out of the room. He picked up Terrierman, who was still posing as a lifeless stuffed toy. Henry, are you ready to go? Jan-Yu asked his son. The green Digivice-wielding Tamer nodded. Hold on, Aru-san, just a minute. The blue-haired boy called out before turning to Susie, who was looking at him with sad eyes. Well, Susie, you're going to have to not see Terrierman for quite a while, Henry said to the shortest and youngest of his siblings. This caused the brown-haired girl to frown. But Henry, why can't I keep Terrierman with me? She asked. Susie looked at her favorite big brother with puppy dog eyes, but Henry willed himself to not crumble. Because Terrierman will help protect me. You don't want me to get hurt, do you? He said truthfully. Terrierman would protect him, but Susie didn't need to know that yet. Susie thought for a while, tilting her head cutely before nodding and smiling up at her older brother. Okay, Terrierman can stay with Henry, Susie agreed before running to go on the computer in Henry's room. Henry, come on, your plane is going to leave in a few hours. Henry's father called out to him. Henry ran over to the computer genius that was his father, his bag in tow and Terrierman atop his head. Yeah, hold your horses, Henry called out. I think that attitude would qualify as rude, don't you think so, Henry? The small dog bunny Digimon told his tamer with a smirk. Oh, shut up, Henry said, rolling his eyes. With Rika and Naruto. Well, Takato is going to visit his cousin, Kai, on an island, Naruto said as he and Dorumon walked through the streets with Rika, Renamon and Gatomon following from the rooftops. Henry's going on a deep-sea expedition tour, Rika said. And that leaves the three of us all alone, Dorumon finished. Rika and Naruto looked at each other with raised eyebrows before looking down at the purple and white-furred dragon Digimon. Dorumon looked up, feeling their stares before sighing. Okay, I'm going. I hope you two swallow each other, he mumbled before walking away, and then ducked into an alleyway where he scaled the wall to reach Gatomon and Renamon on the roofs using his sharp claws. Sue, whatcha wanna do? Naruto asked with a foxy grin. Rika looked at her boyfriend with a sly look and then neared his face. We are going, she paused for dramatic effect as she went closer and closer to Naruto's face. Their breath felt on each other's skin. Yeah, Naruto said excitedly. Shopping for some new clothes for me, she finished as she pulled away, causing the blonde shinobi to collapse anime style on the ground. A sweat drop developed on the back of his head. He got up and looked around. I think I hear Dorumon calling me, the blonde said as he tried the excuse to escape the act of having to carry Rika's bags if she bought anything. If it was anything he learned from his universe and this one, it was that women, no matter where, always seemed to be a dominant species that controlled everything with just a puff of their chest, batting of the eyelashes, or the simple wink of the eye. Rika then went up to the slightly taller blonde and her lips met his in a kiss that caused his eyes to bug out of his head. His eyes seemingly rolling back into his skull before Rika pulled away, much to his dismay. So, as I was saying, you're going shopping with me. But I thought you hated to do that, Naruto said, tilting his head questionably. True, but Aka-chan's genes tend to get through once in a while. Naruto frowned. I hate you, he mumbled, which caused the violet-eyed girl to smile evilly. I love you too, Naruto-kun. Meanwhile, on the rooftops, female, such a persuasive species. I hated. Dorumon frowned as he crossed his arms, feeling Naruto's pain. Oh, come on, Doru-kun, Gatomon said to her draconian boyfriend. My being a female can't be all that bad, she purred. Dorumon's burnt orange eyes rolled in their sockets as he looked at Gatomon's blue orbs. True as that may be, females still attempt to crush us and bend us to their will ... like you're right now, Dorumon realized as he stood up. Renamon chuckled as she sat down on the ground, cross-legged. And I thought men were stupid. Oh, they are. They just have their moments, Gatomon said with a wink at the purple-furred dragon. I'm breaking up with you, he said with a playful glare, causing Gatomon to frown. Don't be like that, Doru-kun. No, I'm serious, I'm not listening to this, I can't take the abuse, he said before jumping away. Gatomon in tow with Renamon following just for the fun of watching the lovers spat. Come back. La, I'm not listening. Dorumon put his claws in his ears. It's never dull around here, the blonde fox thought. Meanwhile, in the digital world Eastern Quadrant, During the time before the 4 Digimon you see now were created, there was a group of 8 children who made the group known as the Digimon. Unlike the ones of Shinjuku, these children were from Odaiba and grew up in the area where the people of Shinjuku saw the city of Odaiba as a fictional world. These 8 children grew up in this fictional, yet at the same time, real city. The 8 were composed of Taichi Kamiya, Yamato Mat Ishida, Sora Takenouchi, Kushiro Izumi, Mimi Takakawa, Joe Kaido, Takeru TK Takeshi, and Hikari Kari Kamiya. These 8 children were the 8 chosen ones who saved the eastern quadrant of the digital world with the help of their Digimon partners. Agumon, Gabumon, Biyomon, Tentomon, Palmon, Gamamon, Patamon, and Gatomon. They all managed to digivolve their Digimon to the levels of champion, even managing to reach ultimate level with only Tai and Matt being able to achieve the mega level, thus thwarting the efforts of foes such as Divimon, Etamon, Venom Myotismon, and the Dark Masters, Piedmon, Puppetmon, Metal Seedramon, and Machinedramon. However, even after accomplishing all this, there was still the great dark leader of all these evil Digimon. Apocalypmon. Apocalypmon was a dangerous Digimon who lived in a secluded area of the digital world's eastern quadrant, all alone, where he developed his strength and watched from his lonely prison as the Digimon detained friends and love from all around the eastern quadrant. However, all that watching made emotions of anger, hatred, jealousy, all these bubbled to the surface until he felt the need to destroy the chosen 8. When these 8 managed to find Apocalypmon, they fought with all they had using the attributes of courage, friendship, love, knowledge, sincerity, reliability, hope, and light, respectively, hidden within each and every one of them, and thus when they were on the brink of defeat they countered and struck back and as a result, destroyed Apocalypmon for good, or so they thought. Apparently a shred of Apocalypmon's data had remained from his destruction, and it was from that shred of data that Apocalypmon was able to bide his time, regain his physical form, and once again return to full strength. Deep in the dark part of the eastern quadrant, 2 figures were fighting. One was a well-known Digimon, a royal knight. A black arm extended from the base of a skull helmet which looked like the head of a War Greymon, with the brave shield from War Greymon's back being the shoulder of the arm. A black arm extended from the base of another skull which looked like that of Metal Garurumon's, with a blue circle with yellow spikes that looked like the same material Metal Garurumon's body was made from. Made the shoulder. Attached to the arms, the Digimon's body was adorned with white armor. 3 purple stripes were on each pectoral. On his waist were 2 golden spikes that curved upwards like devil horns, and on his feet were 3 golden claws, each. His eyes were a bright blue, and 2 fang-like marking were on the mouth part of his face. On the Digimon's chest was a fusion of the crests of courage and friendship in gold. Then the new Digimon wore developed white cape with a red underside that flowed down from his shoulders in makeshift wind. The Metal Garurumon mouth on the right arm opened to reveal the hidden cannon while he flicked his left hand, which looked like War Greymon's head, and a long sword blade flew out. Along the length of the blade, in golden digicode, the words all delete. This was Omnimon. The second fighter was a black, 3-dimensional shape that had many claws, connected by chains, sprouting from many hexagonal-shaped holes in the Digimon's body. A small body, surrounded by a dark-colored cape-looking cloth, covered most of its body, showing 2 dark red eyes. This was Apocalypmon. The Digimon have defeated you once. And as the former partners of Taichi Kamiya and Yamato Ishida, we will stop you, Omnimon said in the fused voices of Metal Garurumon and War Greymon. Apocalypmon gritted his teeth together as he heard those 2 names. You dare speak the names of those children? I was once all-powerful and undefeated before they came along, the alleged Dark Master roared. Well, now you will be brought down once more. Never. The 2 clashed, causing many rifts to form in the digital space, which in the real world would be what pop-up windows are formed from. Omnimon quickly dodged rapid slashes of Apocalypmon's claws. However, one managed to wrap itself around the Royal Knight's waist. Then another converted into the likeliness of a Divimon. Touch of evil. Apocalypmon slashed Omnimon across his chest. The strong armor plating on the Royal Knight protected it from most of the damage. Omnimon then roared and used the brave sword to slash through the chain that bound him like a knife through butter before flying straight towards Apocalypmon. He then spun and slashed, taking down one claw, then another before leaping above one, and used it to spring himself into the air. He then flicked his right wrist, causing the head of Metal Garurumon to open, and shot that and few more chain claws down. Transcendent sword. Omnimon yelled and then stabbed Apocalypmon with the blade. Apocalypmon gritted his teeth and moved back as Omnimon painfully wrenched his blade free from his body. Apocalypmon was able to still fight, but not for long in his mega form, so in order to remain alive, Apocalypmon was forced to digivolve to his ultimate form. His form glowed a soft gray and white before changing to look like that of a large bipedal ram. Its head and neck were a light shade of gray with a mane of red hair going down its neck to just below it. A pair of curved brown horns came from its head and a pair of glowing orange-red eyes stared at the royal knight. The torso was black and its lower limbs were covered with thick brown fur. Two leathery, bat-like wings sprouted from its back and flapped, the sound echoing throughout the shadowy battleground. Its shoulders looked like pads of blue with 3 red lines on each pad. Black and orange stripes made up its arms, which connected to 4 arms that were covered in brown-colored fur just like its lower body. A black tail swished behind it. This was Mephistomon, an ultimate-level Digimon who was made up from the data of the Apocalypse. Apocalypse, I will find my way into the real world and destroy it, Mephistomon said, and then opened his mouth. Dark cloud. A black mist flew from Mephistomon's mouth and began to disintegrate any data that surrounded its vicinity. Omnimon quickly opened both cannons on his hands and fired. Double shot. A blast of ice from the Garuru cannon froze the mist in blue ice, but it was slowly breaking free. But it was stopped as the frozen data-destroying cloud was blown apart by a fireball from the War Greymon cannon. Omnimon then rushed through the smoke cloud generated and raised the Transcendent Sword, which was surrounded by an aura of green and black energy. Omni-Force, all delete. Oh, like hell you will. Mephistomon quickly leaned back to avoid the horizontal thrust that intended to impale him through his stomach and kill him, and performed a matrix move before grabbing onto the War Greymon skull that made Omnimon's left arm. Before swinging upwards and kicked Omnimon hard in the face before jumping back and punching the knight twice in the stomach. The ram-looking Digimon quickly began spinning and managed to crash a hard left fist to the White Knight's face, and then performed a roundhouse that sent Omnimon backwards. Oh, and will you look at that? Mephistomon and Omnimon both looked to see a rip in the space of digital world forming a portal which viewed an image of Shinjuku. You opened a portal to the real world for me. Apparently, when Omnimon used his Omni-Force, all delete, he had put a bit too much power into the attack and it ripped a hole in the digital and real world boundaries. Nuo Mephistomon. Omnimon raced forward with all the speed he could muster, firing haphazardly with his metal Garurumon cannon by using his supreme cannon attack. Mephistomon smirked, deleting the attack with his dark cloud attack, and then waved to Omnimon. Ta-ta, he said in a sing-song voice, and the ultimate level Digimon disappeared through the portal, and then it too disappeared. Omnimon glared at the previous portal. He was one of those Digimon that would not be able to reach the real world and survive its environment, and as such could not leave the digital world. Phew, so if only I knew someone who could stop that menace. Omnimon's mind raced through 100 nanocycles of thought per minute before smirking. He did have someone who could stop Mephistomon. That and the boy and partner have friends, the royal knight thought with a smirk. Time to call an old friend. Real world with Takato. Takato was in the airport looking at the large crowd of people as he had just landed in the airport from Shinjuku to Okinawa where his cousin Kai lived. Right now, the goggle-wearing Tamer was looking around the area for his cousin. Gosh, I wonder if Kai's changed. I haven't seen the guy in nearly 5 years, Takato commented. Why haven't you seen Kai in so long, Takato? Gilman quietly asked, so that only Takato could hear. Because Kai lives here in Okinawa with his grandfather and I live in Shinjuku, so we rarely get to see each other since we live so far away from each other, Takato explained as he patted Gilman's bag. Oh, was all Gilman could say. Hun, Takato, a voice asked. Takato, and Gilman's eyes, which was looking through the hole he made with his claw, turned to see Henry and Terrierman walking towards them while Gilman saw their lower halves. Henry, Terrierman, the red Digivice-wielding Tamer exclaimed upon seeing his friends. What are you guys doing here? Well, I'm here to go on a tourist dive in the reef to look at the underwater ruins off the shores of Okinawa. Terrierman wants to try the food, Henry said with a sweat drop. Is there bread? Gilman asked. This caused Henry and Terrierman to smirk. I see you're still hiding, Gilman, the Asian Tamer added. Takato rubbed his head in embarrassment and chuckled. Hehe, yeah, well, I gotta catch my bus to the hotel I'm staying at. See you later. Yeah, we'll hang out later when you're done with your expedition thing, Takato answered. Sure thing. Don't hurt yourself, Terrierman yelled back. As the pair of Digimon and Tamer left the presence of the other, Takato frowned as he realized there was still no sign of Kai. Where is that boy? Takato thought before sighing. Great, I'm sounding just like Aka-chan. And now, here in Okinawa is the creator of the new computer program on the block, the pet creator, Tamashiro, a news reporter said on the television. The news reporter put the microphone by Tamashiro's mouth. Tamashiro looked like a man in his late 20s, early 30s, and had dirty blonde hair that is most likely filled with gel. He wore a pair of black shades that covered his black eyes and wore a tan-colored shirt with matching colored pants, brown leather shoes, and an orange jacket over the shirt. Hints of a regrowing beard could also be seen. So Mr. Tamashiro, would you tell us what this V-pet is? Well, V-pet obviously means virtual pet. It takes on the likeliness of a dog and can practically do anything from helping you organize your email, remove spam and viruses from your computer, as well as keep you company while acting as a real pet. So you have to feed and clean the thing, Tamashiro explained, getting a few chuckles from the last part. Well, that is quite Takatu. Everyone on the television screen, including those who were watching the countrywide interview, looked in shock as they saw a tan-skinned boy with long black hair that was tied into a short ponytail. The boy had deep brown eyes and wore an open yellow-brown shirt that exposed a flat, yet slightly muscular body. A pair of blue short pants were also worn with a pair of brown sandals. "Nani kai?" Takato explained as he grabbed his suitcase and rolled his suitcase all the way over to the crowd where the reporters and other people had come to see the genius computer inventor. After going through the crowd, he saw Kai standing there in a small scuffle with Tamashiro. "I'm only looking for my cousin Takato. He's here in the airport. Let me go," Kai screamed. However, the security guards held him back. Takato quickly made his way over and grabbed Kai's arm. "Kai, what do you think you're doing?" Takato asked. "Hun, Takato." The black-haired boy blinked before smiling at his cousin. "Takato, you're here," he yelled as he broke through the security guard's grip and hugged the boy. "Nice to see you too," Takato said as he was released from the hug. Suddenly the two felt a hand on each other, their shoulders. They looked up to see Tamashiro smiling at the camera. "You see these two boys? They are potential V-Pet customers and could be the newest generation of V-Pet creators," Tamashiro said with a smile. The camera immediately began to zoom in on Takato and Kai's images. Shinjuku, Takato's house. Mrs. Matsuki was watching television as there were no customers entering the bakery at the moment. She was watching the interview with Tamashiro about the V-Pet and then her eyes widened. "Oh dear, Kami-sama," the middle-aged woman yelled. "Honey, quick, Takato's on the TV." "Nani, really?" Takato's father immediately ran down the stairs and skidded next to his wife as he reached the screen and frowned as he watched the screen switch to a commercial. "Where is Takato?" he asked. "He was there in the Okinawa airport, so that means he got there safely. He and Kai were on the interview with some guy called Tamashiro for this thing called a V-Pet," Mrs. Matsuki explained. Mr. Matsuki sighed. "Oh well, at least we know he made it to Okinawa. Didn't even get to see my Onwa-san on TV." He frowned as he shuffled back upstairs. Back with Takato and Kai along with Gilman's suitcase and another magically appearing calumet who popped out of Gilman's suitcase, sat atop the small boat the two cousins were on as they careened across the blue sea towards the island that Kai lived on. "Sugoi, this place is amazing," Takato said as looked at the clear waters, through which he saw many schools of fish, large amounts of coral, and then the island in the distance. "Hi, it is the perfect vacation paradise for the summer," Kai said with a smirk. The tan boy then walked over to the edge of the boat, hopped up onto the railing and quickly dove off into the blue waters. "Kai, how many times have I told you not to do that?" the boat captain yelled to the boy as he surfaced. "Counting now 7, Kai replied. This caused Takato and the captain to sweat drop. "I guess he does this a lot, huh?" Takato asked. The captain sighed. "He caused me to go bald," the captain told the tamer as he raised his hat to show the lack of hair on his head. Calumet then jumped off the boat and rode the winds, flying after Kai towards the island as Kai swam. After a few minutes, the boat docked off and Takato thanked the captain before the boat left. Takato then rolled the suitcase with Gilman along the lone path that Kai said was the only path on the island. It led straight towards Kai's Oji-san's house, which was the only house on the island. Takato sighed and began rolling the suitcase with Gilman along the path to Kai's house. However, after a long while Takato began to get tired and Gilman was getting hot in his suitcase due to the hot tropical sun, so Takato let the dinosaur Digimon out of the suitcase so that Takato slept atop the suitcase while Gilman pushed. After a while, Kai, who was waiting for Takato and his overly large suitcase, was met with a large surprise as he saw Takato sleeping atop a self-rolling suitcase. Kai blinked and rubbed his eyes before he spotted Gilman poking his head from behind the suitcase. "Ohio Kaiman," Gilman greeted Kai with a wave. "What the?" was all he could think. Later that day, Takato groaned as he woke up. He found the sky was a dark shade of pink mixed with purple, meaning that it was near or probably was dusk. The goggle-wearing tamer looked around and saw an old man wearing a white vest and a short pair of green-brown pants. The man was watching Takato. "Oh, Takato, you're up. You're Kai's Oji-san, right?" Takato asked. The old man nodded. The two then heard a loud, yet familiar voice. "Oi, Oji-san, we're back." The voice of Kai was heard as Takato rose to his feet. His eyes widened, his mouth agape as he saw the crimson reptilian Digimon walking behind Kai with a big smile on his face. "Look, Taketomon, I caught a fishy, it's a pink fishy," Gilman said as he held the pink-scaled minnow between two of his claws. The fish wiggled and squirmed before falling still as it lacked water. Kai on the other hand held a large amount of trout. Kalumon was flying behind the two large individuals. "Oi, Takato, you're up." "Nice Digimon you got here," Kai said, pointing at Gilman. Takato blinked. Why you know about Digimon?" he asked. Kai smiled. "Well duh, everyone knows about Digimon. Well, I knew about the card game, but I never knew real Digimon existed. Gilman is really cool. That's a really big dog. You should have him sleep outside," Kai's grandfather said. Kai and Takato's sweat dropped. "Oji-san, that's not a dog. That's a Digimon, a digital monster," Kai explained to the elderly man. Said elderly man simply shook his head. "Knew that's a dog," Kai's grandfather, and Kai then looked as Kalumon flew between them and waved before landing on Gilman's head. "See, did you see that? What would you call that? A flying dog?" Kai said with a smirk of victory. Kai's grandfather frowned before turning away. "I have to prepare dinner, come inside and get the dogs." "Is your Oji-san always like this?" Takato asked with a sweat drop. "Pretty much. With Rika and Naruto." "So, Rika-chan, what do we do now?" Naruto asked. "We've shopped most of the day. The date is finished and I'm sure Renamon, Dorumon and Gatomon are bored out of their minds from watching us for the entire day. While there have been no sightings of any of the devas, maybe they finally gave up and decided that we are too strong for them," Rika said. "Maybe, but still I'm actually wishing something would happen. It's summer vacation and I'm bored out of my fucking mind." Well, it is summer vacation, Suo." Rika just grabbed Naruto and began to make out with him again, which Naruto was more than happy to comply to. However, during that kiss, there was a large explosion that originated from the Shinjuku gas oil factory. Naruto and Rika rolled their eyes. "It's never dull around here," they said simultaneously before Naruto picked up Rika and ran towards the explosion site. Their Digimon partners not far behind along the rooftops. Shinjuku Gas Oil Factory. The Shinjuku Gas Oil Factory was a large area of pipes, towers, and oil and gas reserves that were used to store the natural resources to be used for things such as electricity. But however, some of all those large pieces of fused metal and plastic were now columns of bright orange flames as they were destroyed in a fiery explosion. Nani, Naruto and Rika looked around the area for the cause and took out their D-arcs as they spotted their little troublemaker. Dorumon's reddish-violet D-arc glowed blue on the screen as the hologram of the Digimon that appeared in front of them was scanned. "Okay, looks like we got a Tamers on our hands. An armor-level Digimon who flies at the speeds that jets can achieve. His attacks are Missile Storm and Sharp Beak," Naruto read before he grabbed Rika and jumped out of the way as a barrage of flying projectiles flew towards them. A large explosion sent Naruto and Rika careening through the sky, but Naruto managed to flip and land on his feet. He rested Rika down and looked at her. "You okay?" "Yeah, Renamon," she called, and the blonde fox appeared with Gatomon and Dorumon atop her shoulders. "So what do we got?" Dorumon asked as he and Gatomon dropped down. "Tamers, armor level. We'll walk all over it," Gatomon said with a purr as she licked her claws. Naruto nodded and then grabbed Gatomon and Dorumon before throwing them into the air while Renamon just jumped. The Tamers spotted them and let out a screech. Missile Storm. And the many missiles underneath the Digimon's wings flew towards the three tamed Digimon. Diamond Storm. Renamon yelled as she unleashed a barrage of diamond shards at the missiles, destroying them all as they came in contact with them. Dorumon and Gatomon were then thrown by Renamon towards the Digimon and grabbed onto its wings before flipping onto its back. Metal Shoot. The dragon-like Digimon roared before multiple metal spheres fired from his maw and impacted with Taramon's body, causing a loss of balance, and the three began to go into a dive. Gatomon and Dorumon then jumped off and readied their claws. Lightning Paw. Hyper Dash Metal. The two soared downwards, and as Taramon met the harsh ground, Gatomon's glowing white claws impaled it, and Dorumon's metal-hard body created a rather large dent in the armor Digimon. The smoke cloud cleared and the two rookies and one champion looked at their opponent. The look in that Taramon's eyes, the golden eyes of the armor Digimon, looked empty, and the pupil seemed to be lost to the naked eye. That soulless look in the Digimon's eyes gave an odd chill that ran up the spine of the two rookies and one champion-level Digimon. This Taramon Gatomon began. How could this be? Renamon finished before the Digimon vanished as red flakes of data. Dorumon frowned as he watched the eyes of the dead Taramon before it vanished. "I know that look," Dorumon thought. The look he saw in all the Digimon that he, Gatomon, and Naruto now knew Lucemon had possessed. "Good job guys, what's wrong?" Rika asked. "This Digimon was being controlled," Dorumon said. Silence filled the air upon this sentence. A few days later, Okinawa with Takato. Takato yawned as he rose from his bed. He quickly bathed, ate breakfast, and changed into his signature blue sweater, t-shirt, blue-tinted lens goggles, yellow wristbands, tan pants, and sneakers. Konnichiwa Minasan, Takato told everyone as he saw them outside. Gilman and Calumen were playing a friendly game of tag while Kai was busy readying some fishing rods made of bamboo and a very waxy-looking piece of string with a hook on the end. "Oh, Takato, you're up," Kai said excitedly. "Good, come on, we're gonna go catch some fish." Takato's eyes nearly bugged out of his head in surprise as Kai just tossed him the fishing rod. Okay, Takato then went with Kai, Gilman, and Calumen towards the shore where they piled into the boat that Kai's grandfather owned and then set out to sea. After a few minutes of just drifting, the two threw out their rods and landed their baited hooks in the water. "Well, this is nice," Takato commented as he watched Gilman dunk his head beneath the small waves that clashed against the boat's wooden surface. "Yeah, I do this all the time. I wish you could visit more. It gets lonely here with just me and Oji-san," Kai commented. Takato sighed. Images of Digimon battles and the Devis flashed through his mind's eyes, revealing the truth to the young tamer. "Yeah, so do I." However, the waves suddenly crashed harder against the boat as the three heard a scream. Calumen, who was sleeping, woke up to the very same sound. "Huh, what's going on?" the large-eared Digimon asked. Taking to the skies, Calumen, along with everyone else in the boat, watched with wide eyes as they saw a young brown-haired girl wearing a pink dress on a small motorboat. A frightened, yet wild look in her maroon-colored eyes were shown before her chaser was revealed. A giant blue and white-colored shark-looking creature. "I don't think that's a normal manta ray," Kai stuttered. "You think?" Takato yelled as he drew his D-arc from his pocket, which was immediately splashed with water, making Takato blink as he realized it was still working besides being soaked to the last microchip. "I have now realized this thing is waterproof." The D-arc beeped before a holographic image of the Digimon appeared on the screen. It was a large blue and white shark-looking creature. The head of it was a darker blue while its lower, serpentine-like body was an ice blue color. Sharp white teeth filled its jaws and the eyes of the Digimon were a deep ocean blue. Two blade-like protrusions came out of the prehistoric-looking Digimon's back. Four flippers allowed movement in the aquatic layout of the ocean. "So that thing is a Digimon." Tailmon, a prehistoric Digimon who looks like the ancient sea-dwelling creature Mosasaurus. Armor-level Digimon who moves quickly and hunts its prey using its sharp teeth to rip apart prey and easily catch them using its flippers for maneuverability. Tailmon's attacks are Torpedo Attack, Shark Fin Blade, and Hydro Wave. Takato read the information off his D-arc before putting it away. "I'm on it, Takato," Gilman roared before Takato could say anything. Gilman's pupils dilated within his golden irises, his virus nature coming to the surface before jumping off the boat with amazing jumping power, and tackled Tailmon just as the shark-looking Digimon caused the unknown girl on the motorboat to fly through the air and near the two boys. Kai and Takato helped bring the girl aboard just as Gilman and Tailmon delved beneath the big blue. "Is she okay?" Takato asked. Kai quickly pressed his middle and index fingers against the pink dress-wearing girl's neck and sighed in relief. "Her pulse is still there, she's alive. Come on, we gotta get her to shore," Kai said as he activated the motor on his speedboat. "No, we have to wait on Gilman," Takato retorted. Kai frowned, but nodded, but not before moving the boat a good enough distance from the battlefield. Beneath the waves, Gilman was still wrestling with Tailmon. Tailmon growled before wriggling out of Gilman's grip since the reptilian Digimon's sharp claws had managed to dig through Tailmon's hard scales. "Torpedo Attack." Tailmon roared as it opened its jaws to reveal 5 torpedoes that were shaped exactly like itself before firing off towards Gilman. Pyrosphere. Gilman fired 5 balls of heated energy at the torpedoes, but the cold waters reduced their strength considerably. The attacks clashed, but the pyrospheres managed to hold their equilibrium long enough to result in an explosion. Gilman and Tailmon were both blown back from the resulting waves. Gilman quickly surfaced, gasping for breath. When his breath quickly steadied, he dived back beneath the waves and found Tailmon coming towards him. Shark Fin Blade. The blades on Tailmon's back shone with a light blue light before Tailmon roared and sped towards Gilman. Gilman growled and his body ignited with flames that managed to burn even beneath the cold waters of the sea. Rock Breaker, Full Body Form. Gilman used the move that he had invented as a result of his training with Naruto and DORUMON before punching Tailmon in the face, and then lashed out with a powerful kick to the fish Digimon's chin, sending it towards the surface. Gilman then pumped his legs and tail furiously as he sped after the surfacing Tailmon. The two Digimon surfaced and Gilman's claws ignited with flames once more. Rock Breaker, and the pairs of claws came down on Tailmon, leaving 6 burning slash marks upon the sides of Tailmon's body. Tailmon roared, "How dare you attack me?" Tailmon's eyes held a soulless look in them, but the rage was evident before it lashed out, and its tail slapped Gilman's face before Tailmon landed back in the water, and then allowed his head to remain above sea level and then roared. Waves became more violent as the seas released their power in the form of Tailmon's attack. Hydro Wave. A large tsunami rose up and crashed against Gilman with devastating force, sending Gilman beneath the water. Tailmon then dove down and sped towards Gilman and tackled his side, earning a cry of pain from the crimson reptile. Tailmon smirked at the damage he began to deal before turning and slashing Gilman's back with his shark fin blade attack. Torpedo Attack. Tailmon bared his teeth before opening his large mouth to fire a multitude of Tailmon-looking torpedoes at Gilman. The barrage of torpedoes attacked both Gilman's arms and then his chest and stomach and back mostly. Gilman's scales and his reflexes to dodge most of the attacks did all they could to protect him from the attack. But the continuous slashes from Tailmon's shark fin blade attack mixed with the torpedo attack made their mark, and Gilman was now covered with data leaking scars. Gilman roared as his virus nature was released full force. He grabbed Tailmon's fins just before they hit him and then planted a clawed foot against the Digimon's face before punching Tailmon repeatedly, and then swung Tailmon around forming a miniature whirlpool and then ignited his body with flames. Rock Breaker. Gilman roared before throwing Tailmon upwards and then rocketing after him to perform a powerful headbutt to Tailmon's body that sent both combatants out of the water. Gilman then slashed downwards with his flaming claws and opened his jaws. Pyrosphere. A powerful and large crimson sphere of flame and energy flew out of Gilman's maw and crashed into Tailmon, sending the evil shark into the unforgiving waves of the ocean. Gilman then decided to finish it and concentrated all the flames around his body into his right clawed hand. The flames spun into the spiraling variation of the rasengan of fire. Rasengan Bakufu, spiraling fire explosion. He cried as his variation of the rock breaker mixed with rasengan broke through Tailmon's hard scales and impaled the armor-level Digimon like a sword through the stomach, burning the enemy Digimon's insides to red flakes of data before bursting into said red flakes of data. A giant tornado of flames surrounded him and Tailmon before the waters snuffed them out and revealed only Gilman amongst the roared in victory before his pupils grew back to normal size and his battle instincts and the adrenaline wore off. Gilman sighed before swimming back towards where he spotted the boat. "Good job, boy." Takato congratulated his partner, helping him onto the vessel. "Arigato Takatoman," Gilman said with a small smile. "Dude, that was wicked awesome. I wish I was a tamer like you." Cousin Kai said with a grin that reminded Takato of Naruto. "Yeah, let's head back to shore and help this girl," Takato said. Kai nodded and the group went back to shore. Kai's house. The boys went to Kai's grandfather, who quickly told them to get a small futon to rest the girl on. Upon resting the girl down, they noticed that she had a bag on her person that was covered entirely in plastic to keep it from getting wet. "Smart girl," Kai commented before heading inside as Takato volunteered to watch over her. Gilman, thanks to the fast healing ability that all Digimon have, was able to make a fast recovery, and Calumen played a game of tag as Takato watched the sleeping girl. After about 2 hours of shifting between watching the girl and playing Gilman and Calumen, he took a fresh towel soaked with hot water and wrung it to release any extra liquid. He placed the towel on her forehead after removing the previous one they had placed on her earlier. "Maybe I should check what's in that bag. My curiosity is getting to me now," Takato mumbled to himself before ripping the plastic off the bag and taking out a laptop. "Maybe this laptop will give me a name or where this girl comes from," the tamer thought as he opened the laptop and pressed the power button. As the screen flashed white and then filled with color, Takato's eyes widened as he recognized the screen's image. On it was a three-dimensional, pixelated organism in the likeliness of a dog. "TT, this is a V-pet," Takato wondered. With Henry sighed with a smile as he climbed back onto the boat. He took off his scuba gear and smiled at the underwater camera he held in his hands. "I think I maxed out the memory card on this thing with the amount of pictures I took," Henry said. Terrierman jumped on top Henry's head and chuckled. "Well, how about we pay old Gogglehead a visit then, since you're done with these boring ruins?" "Hey, those ruins were very interesting. You should have seen it anyways." "You're right. We could visit Takato the next day," Henry agreed with the dog-eared bunny. With that, the pair headed back to their hotel where they were staying. with Naruto and Rika. Naruto and Rika had finished a recent date and were now walking back towards Rika's house. Now that it was dark, no one was out on the streets seeing as it was summer. Most people had fled the country to go abroad to places such as America or the Caribbean or other tourist areas. So Rasengan was out in the open with DORUMON and GATOMON. However, as a precaution, Naruto still cast a mild genjutsu that made Rasengan seem like a young blonde woman who looked old enough to be Rika's older sister yet young enough to not be her mother. So what do we do now? Rika asked as she turned away for a few seconds. Rasengan was constantly looking behind them in case there was anybody following them, so they didn't expect was what happened these next few seconds. I don't know, maybe we could then. Naruto paused mid-sentence as he looked up along with DORUMON and GATOMON. Above them was a swirling blue and black portal lined with flakes of red, green, and blue data. Then a yellow beam descended down and entrapped DORUMON and Naruto. GATOMON, who was holding DORUMON's claws, was also sucked into the yellow beam. Rika and Rasengan's eyes widened as they saw the blonde and his two partners quickly being pulled into the portal above. Naruto's sapphire eyes widened with shock as he looked down at Rika. "Naruto!" Rika cried out, but the portal closed and the yellow light vanished along with the blonde tamer and his two Digimon partners. Kyuso, the red-haired girl, cursed as she looked up at where her boyfriend had left. "What did you get yourself into now, Naruto-kun?" Digital World, Eastern Quadrant, former prison of Apocalypse. A dark portal opened up in the former prison of the escaped Dark Lord of the Digimon, and in it stood the Royal Knight. The DNA Digivolve fusion of Metal Garurumon and War Greymon, Omnimon. Omnimon smirked as he watched the swirling mass of black and blue data before three figures shot out of the portal. "Ah, you've come, my old ... well, young friend," Omnimon said as he looked down at the three newcomer. Naruto, DORUMON, and GATOMON shook their heads wildly side to side as they got over the rush of moving at super speeds through the rip in space. The tamer and his Digimon then looked around the dark prison of the former Apocalypse before the image of white armor filled their vision. Naruto and DORUMON's eyebrows rose in confusion. "This armor, it looks..." The three looked up and their eyes widened as they saw the deep blue eyes hidden behind the white armored mask of the Royal Knight Digimon. Omnimon. Omnimon. Naruto and DORUMON yelled in surprise before leaping at the White Knight and hugged the Digimon. GATOMON looked in shock as she saw her tamer and her boyfriend just jump, in what seemed to be sheer joy, and hugged the Royal Knight. The legendary Omnimon, as if they were old friends. "Ha ha ha, it's good to see you too," Omnimon said as he let the two down from his body. "It's good to see you too, Omnimon. How have you been?" Naruto asked. "I've been holding up, but I need your help with is why I have called you two here," Omnimon said. "Free," the two said. Omnimon looked perplexed as they said that word. 3. Naruto and DORUMON parted to give Omnimon's eyes the view of the feline Digimon. "A GATOMON?" he asked. "Hi, she is my second partner and DORUMON's girlfriend," the blonde shinobi explained. Omnimon nodded as he walked towards the shocked feline. "Ohio, GATOMON," Omnimon said with a wave of his metal Garurumon hand. GATOMON blinked before dropping down onto one knee, her head bowed. "It is an honor to meet such a revered Digimon such as yourself, Omnimon, the Great White Royal Knight," GATOMON greeted. Omnimon looked in shock at the unexpected respect from GATOMON. "Rise, GATOMON. There is no need for such formalities," Omnimon said with a chuckle. "Yeah, Gato-chan, he's a friend," DORUMON said. "Doru-kun, well, we have no more time for friendly conversations. I have a request for help from both of you. I mean the three of you," Omnimon corrected himself. Naruto, DORUMON, and GATOMON looked between each other and nodded before looking at Omnimon with a serious and determined look. The one that Omnimon had seen in their fight with DIGIMON back in the days. It was that look that had earned Naruto and DORUMON, and now GATOMON, his full respect. "What do you need?" they asked simultaneously. "Well, in the beginning, I was once an agumon and a gabumon who were partners and friends to two children from the first set of Digimon, Taichi Kamiya and Yamato Ishida," Omnimon began. "Utai and Matt from the television show, that entire thing happened here?" Naruto asked. Omnimon nodded. "The Digimon of what you know as the television show had their battles here in the eastern quadrant of the digital world, ruled by the sovereign Azulongmon," Omnimon answered. "Did you see the battle that we had against Apocalypse?" "Yeah, you all completely destroyed him, didn't you?" DORUMON asked, having seen the episode. "Well, that was back when I was just War Greymon and Metal Garurumon. This was before the fight with the first DIGIMON when I first became Omnimon," Omnimon said. "However, it seems that Apocalypse survived the battle, and when he was fully recovered he tried to strike back, find a way into the real, yet fictional, world of Odaiba. However, I was able to come here after sensing his presence and fought him and managed to weaken him, turning him back into Mephistomon, his ultimate level form. I was about to defeat him too, however the energy released from my all-delete attack during the battle had caused a rift to form between the real world and the digital world and sent him, not to Odaiba, but to your real world in Shinjuku, and since I cannot leave the digital world, I need you three to defeat Mephistomon for me along with the other Digidestined Omnimon explained as he finished his tale. I see ... So do you have an idea of where Mephistomon is though? Dorumon asked. Omnimon shook his head. No, he has eluded me and I cannot feel his presence. He must be blending in as a human somewhere, the royal knight hypothesized. Silence filled the dark void of where the four individuals stood. Well, actually they were floating, but you get the picture. Well, Mephistomon must be someone who is within the crowd, an average looking person that no one would pay any attention to, Naruto said. Well then he would be difficult to find. We don't even know where to start looking, Gatomon interjected. Well then what if he is somebody well known? Most would think that villains tend to be somewhat inconspicuous and want to blend in with the crowd, when the reality is that they are the well-known people, because they would know that humans tend to focus on the background rather than the main thing when a villain escapes, Dorumon said. Omnimon nodded. Both ideas are sound, but you will have to split up then if you wish to undergo the search, Omnimon said. Understood, the three said with a mock salute, causing Omnimon to chuckle. The royal knight then opened the portal back to Shinjuku and the tamer and two Digimon partners left Okinawa with the unknown girl. The brown-haired girl that had been attacked by the tailmon was stirring in her sleep as she was dreaming, having a nightmare. In her dream she was swimming in the stormy seas as a white and brown-furred puppy was being taken out to sea by the large and rough waves. May, the girl called out as she furiously kicked her legs to try and reach her dog. But to no avail as the waves pushed the girl away from the dog, now identified as May. May was then dunked beneath the deep blue waters, now a fierce Navu blue color due to the storm. The girl sobbed as she cried out for the pup as a rescue boat found her and helped her out of the water and took her back to shore. With that the girl woke up. She looked around, surveying the area to find she was in some kind of tropical island of some kind. She looked at her clothes to find they were not her own. Your clothes were soaked. I called a friend from the mainland to send some clothes for you, Kai's grandfather said as he walked out onto the porch where the girl was resting. The unknown girl looked around before standing to her feet. Arigato for your hospitality, the girl said with a small bow. Kai's grandfather nodded. It's no trouble, now come and eat. You must be starved, but before that would you mind telling us your name? Us? The girl asked. Kai, Takato, Gilman and Kalumon suddenly ran up the path, having just done a day of fishing. Gilman had caught another little pink minnow while Kai and Takato had caught a few trout. Oh, you're up, Takato mused as the four reached the girl and Kai's grandfather. Hi, arigato, do you have my laptop? She asked. The brown-haired boy nodded. Hi, do you want it? Kai asked. Very much please, the girl said. But then she looked away before doing a double take and began to stare at Gilman and Kalumon, now noticing the two Digimon. You can have your fancy gadget once you eat, but you still haven't given us your name, the elderly man said. The girl shook her head. It's Minami, by the way, are those? She pointed at Gilman and Kalumon. Hi, those are Digimon, Takato and Kai said simultaneously. This is Gilman and that's Kalumon, Kai said, pointing at the crimson reptile and the flying cream puff. Minami was then seated on the floor with everyone else, since it was a short table. The food was set up, white rice with baked trout with a few choice vegetables. After a few minutes of eating, Takato asked a question to Minami. So Minami, why was that Digimon chasing you? Takato asked. I don't really know, the brown-haired girl replied. Then after everyone was finished eating, they realized Minami had barely eaten. Minami, are you okay? Takato asked with concern evident in his tone. He placed a hand on her shoulder and Minami suddenly broke down into tears and latched herself onto Takato's body and cried, staining his white t-shirt that he wore during the summer with tears. Takato, having no idea how to deal with girls, just sat there with a surprised look. Meanwhile in Shinjuku Park, Rika sighed as she walked down the street. Where are you, Naruto-kun? She asked the wind. Renamon phased next to her red-haired tamer as she sat on the bench. Feeling a bit down, Rika? Renamon asked. Rika sighed. Well, considering my boyfriend was just taken from me into a portal that leads to Kami knows where and has been gone for a whole day. No, I guess I don't feel down, she said, sarcasm dripping from her tone. Renamon chuckled. You know, I heard your Aka-chan is coming back soon, Renamon said. Rika rolled her eyes at that. Mothers, you want them when they're never here, and when they are they're not wanted, Rika sighed. Well, it's not like either of them are going to fall out of the sky, Renamon said. With that, a large black and blue swirling mass appeared in the sky above, lined with red, green and blue squares of data. Then three figures dropped out of the portal from the sky, landing in front of the female tamer and Digimon. Why do portals always drop you from the sky? The blonde shinobi tamer asked as he dusted his pants after landing. However, he was suddenly knocked down to the ground as one Rika Nanaka tackled him to the ground and showered his face with kisses as she hugged the air out of his lungs. Og, Rika gasped Chan. Wheeze rasp choking not gasp breathing Naruto managed to get out. Rika giggled as she let her boyfriend go. Gomen Nasai, you were gone for a whole day, where did you go? She asked. Naruto looked at Dorumon and Gatomon with a raised eyebrow. A day, but we were gone for like half an hour, Naruto said. I guess time passes slower in the digital world. Well, in the eastern quadrant at least, Gatomon said with a shrug. Well, what did you three do there? Renamon asked, her tail swishing back and forth. Naruto then went into the explanation about what happened with Omnimon and Apocalypse, and then Apocalypse turning into Mephistomon and then hid among the humans. Oh, was all that the females could say. So starting tomorrow, we'll go looking for Mephistomon and whatever bio-emerging Digimon, Naruto suggested as he looked at the crescent moon in the sky. Sounds like a plan, the others replied. The next day, Okinawa, with Henry. Henry was waking up and had just finished showering. As he put on his regular clothes, which consisted of the blue t-shirt underneath an orange vest, green pants and sneakers, the phone began to ring. Henry looked at the bathroom door and watched the steam flow from beneath the space between the bathroom door and the floor. Terrierman always using up the hot water. Good thing I went first, the tamer mused before picking up the phone. Ohio, Henry Wong speaking, Henry said. Henry, the voice on the phone said. The blue-haired boy's eyes widened. Adu-san. Henry, how are you? I'm good, and you? I'm fine, Janu said. Susie is really missing you, and Terrierman. Henry chuckled and he heard Susie yell at their father. Anyways, your sister was using the new VPet application we got her, and apparently something is wrong with it. She says how that it's answering questions like 2 + 2 = 8, and 6 × 4 = 546 and so on, Janu told his son. And now it seems to be eating the live feed of the computer virus rampage that's causing the electronic equipment all over Shinjuku to go haywire. Adu-san, then that means. I thought so too. The VPet program itself is a virus, although I wonder why the water company and airports would need a VPet, the computer genius thought. Well, I'll talk to you later. Right now I have to go and visit Takato at the island his cousin Kai lives at. Sure thing, I'll talk to you later. Susie say goodbye to Henry. Yanni Henry, the 6-year-old said with a sad voice. When are you and P-Wincess P-Wedipants coming back? Soon, little sis. Soon, Henry said with a chuckle before hanging up, and at that time, Terrierman came out with a towel around his shoulder. You ready? The boy asked. Of course. Let's go see Gogglehead, Terrierman said with a smirk, causing his tamer to sigh at his rudeness. With Takato, Kai and Minami. Takato and Kai were skipping rocks across the ocean water as Minami sat there with her laptop clutched to her chest. The brown-haired tamer then walked over to the somber girl and bent down and sat next to her while eyeing the laptop. Is it okay if I use your laptop? That VPet thing looks fun, he asked. Minami nodded and handed him the electronic device. The VPet was made to help me stop grieving when I lost my original dog, May. She was just a puppy when I lost her. She had drowned after I had won a boogie boarding competition. But as I was swimming back, some waves from the incoming storm washed her away, and I never her again, Minami said as tears rolled down her face. The painful memory burned into her mind's eyes forever. So why was that Digimon chasing you? Kai asked as he ran up to the two. I don't really know. This laptop. She pinted at the laptop that was now currently in Takato's hands. Has the original prototype VPet, and I was told by my Adu-san to run away with it because somebody wanted to grasp the rights to the VPet. Since then, I've been running, and these strange creatures, the Digimon, have been hounding me for quite a while ever since he told me to, Minami explained. Well, that's kind of a downer on things now, Kai mused to himself. However, I don't know why my Adu-san made me that thing. The VPet is just a bunch of code and data. It cannot replace the real feeling of a flesh and blood companion. You're wrong, Takato interjected, causing the brown-haired girl to look at him with a confused look. Look at Gilman. He's a Digimon, and when I thought Digimon were just data, they only existed as that and in my imagination. But apparently Digimon are real. Gilman came from my imagination through my D-arc and into the real world. Data is not just data. It's a living thing, the reddish brown-eyed boy said. Since when were you so insightful? Kai asked, causing the tamer to grin. My friend and sensei taught me to hone my mind and become more in-depth with my thoughts, Takato said as he looked at the sky, blue as it could ever be. However, before Kai could further expand on this new piece of information, Gilman, who was watching the depths of the forest behind the group, his pupils dilated and he growled before running over to Takato. Takato, watch out. The dinosaur-like Digimon yelled. Hanani. The group turned as a large boom echoed throughout the foliage and two large Digimon jumped out. One was similar to a large scorpion while the other looked like some kind of blue humanoid fish with an oxygen tank of some sorts on its back and a trident or spear held in its hands. Takato took out his D-Arc. The image of the Scorpion Digimon appeared first. Scorpiomon, Ultimate Level. Scorpiomon is said to be created when a computer virus infected data in the databanks of a laboratory studying animals from ancient times. He has an enormous appetite. When fighting, he skillfully captures the enemy using his tentacles and then cuts them with the blade on his tail. Attacks are Tail Blade, Twin Sword, and Scorpion Storm. Takato read before the image of the humanoid fish along with its info came up immediately after. Diverman, another ultimate level. He wraps himself in a wetsuit and swims in the net ocean. He moves at high speeds underwater with the motor on his back. His underwater combat efficiency allows him to capture his prey with his favorite torrent harpoon, although he is cheerful in nature. Attacks are Striking Fish and Hell Dive. Takato read before reaching into his pants where he kept his Digimon card case in order to keep it from getting wet. He strapped it onto his waistband and got ready to draw his cards as Gilman growled and opened his mouth. Pyrosphere. Gilman unleashed a barrage of red-hot energy spheres at the arachnid and fish Digimon, causing a large explosion. However, when the cloud of smoke and sand cleared, the two stood there with minimal damage. Striking Fish. Diverman cried out before throwing his harpoon at the reptile. Gilman jumped back and smirked before clamping his jaws down on the trident staff and snapped the weapon in two, causing Diverman to become angry. However, Scorpiomon appeared behind Gilman and struck out with his blade-like claws. Twin Sword. Gilman cried out in pain as he was slashed across his back and knocked across the sands, skidding along the sand before stopping. After righting himself, Diverman appeared in front of Gilman and lashed out with a ferocious right hook and then spun to deliver a left kick. Gilman then growled as he ducked underneath the following left punch from Diverman before planting his skull into Diverman's stomach, sending the aquatic Digimon back. Digimodify Greymon's Nova Blast. Takato yelled, swiping the card. Gilman released a huge ball of fire at Diverman and scored a hit, sending the aquatic Digimon into his companion. Scorpiomon then moved forward and kicked up a sandstorm as its tail began to spin like a helicopter blade and create the storm. Scorpion Storm. The arachnid-like Digimon yelled. Gilman rubbed his eyes as the tiny particles of silt and sand reached his eyes. Gilman was forced to close his eyes and fight handicapped. However, Gilman's hearing wasn't to be taken lightly. Gilman behind you and to your right. He heard Takato yell. Gilman nodded. His opponents were outside the storm and attempting to attack from there and strike him on the inside of the storm. Following his tamer's calls, he jumped into the air, and then his claws were engulfed in flames as he heard the sound of both his enemies crashing into each other. Rock Breaker. The flaming claws crashed down onto both opponents by sheer hearing alone, and both opponents were sent skidding out of the subsiding storm. Gilman rubbed his eyes and opened them to reveal his dilated pupil-filled golden eyes. Digimodify Hyper Wing Activate. Takato yelled, swiping the card. Gilman then sprouted 6 silvery wings, 3 on each side. Gilman looked as he took flight and performed a backflip to avoid an incoming Diverman before flying towards Scorpiomon. Scorpiomon lashed out with its scythes and managed to swat away Gilman a couple of times, damaging the rookie. But Gilman plowed through during his final attempt and kicked Scorpiomon in the eyes, sending the Scorpion Digimon back before flying with fire trailing from his claws and fiery energy in his maw. Rasengan Bakufu. Gilman grabbed the pyrosphere out of his mouth and mixed it with the flames on his claws to form the spiraling fire explosion that completely destroyed Scorpiomon, granting the enemy Digimon a fiery end. However, Diverman was still around and the amphibious Digimon took advantage of Gilman's tiredness and shoulder tackled the Digimon to the ground and then grabbed Gilman by his neck and flung the rookie into a tree. Gilman, now for you, get out of the way, we only want the girl. Diverman yelled. Takato growled. It was time he used Naruto's martial arts training. Takato, what are you doing? Kai yelled to his cousin as he jumped a few feet in front of Minami. Diverman leered at his human opponent. Baka, taking on a Digimon. Diverman smirked before going to punch the tamer, but Takato managed to slip past Diverman's guard and plant a palm strike to its stomach, and then Takato ran up and performed an uppercut, sending Diverman slightly upwards. The brown-haired tamer then performed a backhand spring which resulted in a kick to Diverman's chin, sending him higher up. Kai, give me a boost. Takato yelled. Kai nodded before cupping his hands, and Takato ran towards his cousin before jumping onto his tan cousin's hands, and Kai pushed upwards as Takato juked, boosting Takato's jump, earning him a higher altitude than his Digimon opponent. Takato then performed a front flip and slammed his heel onto Diverman's head in a brutal axe kick. Diverman grunted in pain, but managed to right himself as he was falling, but landed on one knee. Takato landed on his feet and smirked, but coughed and panted. "Kyuso, I really need to work on my stamina. I may know the moves and had the strength to pull them off, but it was taxing on my body. Gotta get Naruto to help me," the reddish brown-eyed tamer thought. Diverman growled as he watched the human tamer. "You will pay for managing to hurt me, human." Diverman rushed Takato, who closed his eyes waiting for the pain. However, the screen on the laptop, which was dropped by Minami when she had taken it back from Takato just before the attack, shone brightly as a white and golden-furred creature leaped forth from the screen to challenge the Diverman that had intended to capture Minami. The Digimon looked like a golden lion-dog hybrid with purple claws, a golden horn, mane, bushy tail, and paws. Takato took out his D-Arc and scanned the newly arrived Digimon. Sasarman, champion-level Digimon. He is an ally of those with pure hearts and he utilizes wild power on his evil opponents. His personality is quiet and he needs to recharge his power by sunbathing. Attacks are T-Dia and second to Takato read before pocketing the blue-rimmed D-Arc. Sasarman and Diverman rushed each other, tackling one another with such force that kicked up multiple dewist clouds from impact. Diverman, however, being bipedal, had the upper hand before lowering his body and planting an uppercut to Sasarman's body. Then it jumped and backflipped to crash a brutal and ferocious double kick to Sasarman's chin, and then jumped and headbutted the lion-dog hybrid, getting the holy Digimon higher into the air. Diverman jumped and readied a right hook, but Sasarman recovered, and since Diverman was a bit injured in the fight with Gilman, Diverman had no time to react as Sasarman's paws glowed with a holy, golden light. Second two, the holy Digimon's paws lashed out and nailed Diverman in the face, sending both combatants to the ground, with Sasarman landing on all fours while Diverman landed on his back. Then Sasarman ran forward and crashed his head into Diverman's stomach as it attempted to stand back up before spinning and slamming his tail into Diverman's face. Sasarman then performed a donkey kick with his back legs and Diverman was sent flying through the air as Sasarman's mane began to glow with holy light. "That's Sasarman, he looks like the guardian of the island," Kai said. "So the guardian of this island is a Digimon?" Takato asked. Kai shrugged. "Apparently, T-Die," Sasarman yelled before multiple solar beam arrows were fired from Sasarman's mane and impacted with the aquatic Digimon and caused a bright flash of light before Diverman vanished as red flakes of data. "Sugoi," was all that the three humans could say as Sasarman seemed to smirk before walking over to them. After having vanquished the Digimon, Sasarman turns to Minami and sniffed at her feet. "Minami, the holy Digimon," drawled out the girl's name. Minami was surprised as Sasarman mentions her name. Why you know my name?" she asked, earning a nod from Sasarman. However, the quiet is ended swiftly as a large blue and white manta-ray-looking Digimon, a manta-ray-net, leaps from the sea and captured Minami, wrapping the antennae from its head around Minami's waist. Gilman, who had recovered somewhat from his fight, looked to see another intruder and opened his mouth and fired a pyrosphere. The red orb of fire and energy impacted with one of Manta-Rayman's wings. Manta-Rayman glided along the air and slapped Sasarman and Gilman with its other wing, injuring Sasarman and Gilman in the process. Sasarman then got up quickly, after the screaming Minami as she disappears from view, and Sasarman is held back by the lapping waters as he looked on in anguish. "Quick, we have to go after her," Kai yelled. "No, I will go. Kai, it's too dangerous for you. You don't even have a Digimon to help protect you," Takato said, fearing for his cousin's life. Kai gave Takato a glare. "Takato, I've been dragged too deep into this thing to back out now. Besides, I know these waters like the back of my hand. You need me." Takato frowned. Kai did have a point. "Alright, but once we start with fighting, you hide, okay?" Takato said. Kai nodded. "Then let's go," he said as he grabbed Gilman and the two jumped in a boat with Gilman and Sasarman, who would lead the way by smelling for Minami's scent, and set off. On the boat from the Ryukyus of Okinawa to the island where Takato is. On the boat, Henry and Terrierman smiled as they felt the cool ocean spray gently splash their faces. "So what should we do? Be forward and just barge in and say hello or surprise Takato?" the dog-eared bunny Digimon asked. Henry smirked. "How about the latter?" "Always, you're no fun," Henry Terrierman said with a pout. However, the fun was ruined when the boat was suddenly stopped when a large claw appeared out of the water and gripped the boat's hull, causing the captain to have to stop the boat. "What the hell?" all three individuals on the boat thought. The captain ran downstairs and gaped in shock as he saw a giant lobster-like creature rise from the ocean. The shock caused the elder man to faint as his eyes rolled back into his head and drool fell from his open mouth. "Kyuso, Terrierman," Henry yelled. "I'm on it." Terrierman jumped into the air and spun rapidly. Terrier Tornado. The Emerald Tornado spun and crashed against the giant lobster Digimon. Henry took out his D-Arc and scanned the creature's data. DORUMON, champion level. It has a hard shell and dangerous, powerful claws that could cut through steel. It lives in deep parts of the net ocean in the digital world. Attacks are twin scissors and lobster step. Henry read before reaching into his trusty Digimon card pouch. Digimodify Digivolution activate. Henry yelled as he swiped the card. Digivolution. Terrierman was surrounded by an egg of swirling green data. Terrierman Digivolve 2. Terrierman's skin peeled away to reveal a large green rabbit covered in wireframe pattern, or blue squares for a simpler term. The skin then reattached itself as Terrierman's body grew into that of a larger rabbit. His face and ears were entirely green. The edge of the ears, the body and muzzle of Gargomon being a tan color. A red diamond lay in the center of the champion level's forehead. 2 red slash-like marking were on Gargomon's cheeks. His hands were replaced with Gatling guns. A string of ammunition was strapped across the trigger-happy bunny's chest, and he wore a pair of navy blue jeans. Gargomon jumped into the air. The barrels on both his Gatling guns glowed with an emerald green light. Bunny pummel. The newly arrived champion level cried out before slamming one gun to DORUMON's chest before using the momentum to backflip and then land on the boat's railing and jump again before planting the second gun to the giant sea shrimp's face, knocking it back into the water. Gargomon then jumped down and opened fire. Gargo laser. Twin scissors. DORUMON's large claws lashed out and deflected all the laser bullets while also hitting Gargomon in the process. The trigger-happy bunny Digimon flipped and landed next to Henry. We gotta beat that thing, but how? Henry mused, but then an idea struck him as he drew a card. Digimodify power activate. Gargomon shrugged. He could use a power boost and then fired powered-up laser bullets. Digimodify Electman's Super Thunderstrike. Henry swiped the card and Gargomon smirked. Steamed lobster anyone, Gargomon said as electric charge built up in his gun barrels, and then after that charge built up, Gargomon let it all loose. Super Thunderstrike. Gargomon unleashed a bright yellow bolt of electrical discharge and it hit the wet DORUMON, frying it as the water conducted the electricity, and then the Digimon vanished into red flakes of data. Henry and Gargomon smirked before a yellow beam of light descended upon them and pulled them into a black and blue portal above. Digedstein, I need your assistance, an unknown voice said. Henry and Gargomon were then sucked into the spatial rift. Meanwhile in Shinjuku, phew, so why did it have to happen now? Naruto and Rika groaned as they watched their Digimon fight off the horde of Terrierman that had suddenly just appeared. DORUMON and Renamon were shooting most of them down with Metal Shoot and Diamond Storm respectively, while Gatomon was using her superb jumping and martial arts skills to knock them out of the sky. Okay, that's it. I've had enough of this, Naruto growled. His eyes flashed crimson. DORUMON, he called out. DORUMON nodded as Naruto drew DORUMON's D-Arc and a card. Digimodify Jiagrimon's Mega Flame activate. DORUMON suddenly held a large red ball of fire in his hands as Naruto began to flash through hand signs. Katen, Karyuendon no Jutsu. He yelled and the orange fire dragon burst forth from his lungs and out of his mouth, roaring as it flew up into the sky, bending to its master's will. Mega Flame. DORUMON flung the red ball of flaming oxygen as it mixed with the already large fire dragon, making it larger. Collaboration move. Seikayo no Karyuendon no Jutsu. They yelled simultaneously. Gatomon and Renamon watched in awe as the large, reddish-orange reptilian behemoth of flame cut down the many Terrierman, reducing them to nothing but red data flakes. Omega Fire Dragon. Rika asked. It's a cool name, Naruto retorted with a smirk as the Terrierman were finally taken down. Naruto then turned as he heard a rumble from the water pipes underneath the streets and from the active washing machines in the strategically placed laundromat shop. Water suddenly began to pour out of all the washing machines before the water evaporated from a sudden burst of heat, and then blue flames burst forth from the machines to form a 7-foot-tall, blue humanoid Digimon. Blue Merriman, champion-level Digimon. His body is hotter than that of a regular Merriman since his body is made of blue flames. Attacks are Ice Phantom and Fire Bomb. Rika read. Naruto flashed through hand signs. Well, guess I should fight fire with water, he said as he ended on the Tori sign. Suten, Suryuden no Jutsu. A large rumbling was heard from the sewer beneath and a large water dragon rose from the pipes. The dragon roared before it raced towards Blue Merriman. Ice Phantom. The blue being said before it phased through the water dragon and the dragon froze still. Blue Merriman then punched the dragon and turned only to see Gatomon's claws. Lightning Paw. The feline Digimon cried out. The paw glowed white before Blue Merriman was hit in the face. Gatomon then ducked down and performed an uppercut before jumping and performing a backflip. Neo kick. Then both of Gatomon's glowing white feet crashed into Blue Merriman's chin, sending the enemy Digimon skyward. Metal shoot. Katen, Gaokakyu no Jutsu. Naruto released a large ball of flame from his mouth and then formed more hand signs. FUNN, Kamikaze no Jutsu. And a large burst of wind flew from Naruto's hands, making the flames hotter as the metal orbs from Dorumon's attack caught aflame. Collaboration move, Gaokakude Bakufu no Jutsu. The two partners yelled simultaneously as the grand fireball explosion impacted with Merriman's body and blew him sky high before Renamen blurred above Merriman and looked at Rika. Rika, digivolve me. On it, the redhead told her partner as she took out the card. Digimodify Digivolution activate. Rika cried out, swiping the card. Naruto watched as Renamen went under the Digivolution process. Wanna go champion? He asked Dorumon. Why not? Everyone's doing it. Digimodify Digivolution activate. Naruto said as he quickly drew the card and swiped it through Dorumon's D-Arc. Digivolution. Renamen was engulfed by a swirling blue egg of data. Renamen digivolved too. Renamen's form changed to resemble a large golden and white-furred kitsune with the edges of the white fur that glowed with mystical blue flames on the paws. Instead of one tail, 8 more had sprouted out, now 9 blonde-colored tails, each tipped with white fur that seemed to also glow with mystical blue flames just like her paw fur. The bottom of Kyuubimon's mouth was white and 2 purple slash marks were shown underneath her still glacial blue eyes, and a large white mane extended along the entire length of her neck. The yin-yang symbol was shown above each of her 4 legs and one lay on the center of her forehead. A white and red rope tied in a bow with 2 golden bells attached to it was wrapped around her neck. Kyuubimon. Digivolution. Dorumon's old interface symbol glowed red before he was surrounded by swirls of reddish-violet data that then formed a swirling egg of reddish-violet data. Dorumon digivolved too. Dorumon's skin and fur peeled away to reveal a much large form, bound together by reddish-violet squares of data. The skin then reattached itself along with fur. The reddish-violet egg of data exploded to reveal Dorumon's champion form. A large dragon, only a little bit shorter than Growlman, emerged. Black fur with purple zigzag patterns coated the Digimon. 2 large wings on the back were black with purple zigzag patterns, but on the underside they were pure white, just like the snout area. Hands, feet, wrists, and ankles along with the tip of the new Digimon's tail. A collar of white fur formed at the base of the dragon's neck, and the ears were more pointed than before. Sharp teeth lined its jaws, and 3 crimson claws on each of the dragon's forelimbs and back limbs seemed to shine. Orange eyes seemed to glow in their sockets. Finally, the red triangle, outlined in gray, the old interface, lay in the center of its forehead. Dorugumon, Akuzo, Kyuubimon and Dorugumon yelled. Foxtail Inferno. Kyuubi let loose the ghostly blue fireballs from the tips of all 9 of her tails and slammed Blue Merriman down. But before it could impact with the ground, the ebony dragon appeared beneath Merriman and spun and slammed his tail against Merriman's back before releasing a large metal orb surrounded by sparks of red, blue and violet electricity. Tower metal, and the metal sphere impacted with Blue Merriman and reduced him to nothing but red flakes of data. Alright, we did it, Naruto and Rika said with happiness. Dorugumon, Gatomon and Kyuubimon then ran back to their respective tamers and smiled at them before a large yellow light descended upon them. Digidstein, I need your assistance, a familiar voice spoke. The 2 tamers and 3 Digimon were then sucked into the blue and black portal above. Does Omnimon always have to do this? Rika asked as she began to float above ground, and then she heard one word from her boyfriend before they were sucked into the portal. Yes, Digital World with Naruto, Rika and Henry. Naruto and Rika and their Digimon appeared in the black prison that used to hold Apocalypse. Hello, Naruto and the rest of the Digidstein Omnimon greeted. No way, you're Omnimon, Gargomon yelled out. The 2 newly arrived tamers and their partners looked to see Henry and Gargomon behind the White Knight. Henry, Gargomon, Rika and Naruto. Henry and Gargomon yelled back. What are you doing here? The group yelled simultaneously. What am I doing here? I was sucked up by this guy. Omnimon's sweat dropped as they spoke simultaneously and pointed at him. Yes. Anyways, come with me, I shall update you on the current situation, Omnimon said, and then briefed Henry and Rika on the situation about Mephistomon. I see, so you need our help to stop him? Henry asked as they flew at super speeds through the black abyss that was the portal. Hi, Omnimon replied. However, all was silent. Well, relatively silent, because there was the air resistance from their speed causing wind to rush past their ears along with the sounds of roars, screeches, yells and other sounds. What are those? Kyuubimon asked as her vision spotted many small incoming objects. Those are Digimon that are attempting to bio-emerge into your world, Omnimon replied before taking out his gray sword. Get behind me, Omnimon said. The other followed the large Mega Digimon's orders and went behind him. Omniman saw a many Tyrannomen, metal black Tyrannomen, Taramon, Naruman and other Digimon before he began slicing away at them with the speed of a sword master before seeing a large amount try to attack him and took out the supreme cannon and fired a blast of blue energy that destroyed them before continuing the process for quite a while. Sugoi was all the Tamers and their partners could say. Meanwhile with Takado, Caesarman was leading the way as he sniffed Minami's scent and gave the directions as to where she went after the Mantarayman took her. A fog had billowed in, but the 4 individuals present on the boat paid it no heed as they spotted the island where, according to Caesarman's growl, Minami was taken. However, before any of them could proceed to go any further, a large blue and white manta and an amphibious, blue humanoid-looking Digimon appeared. Mantarayman and Dipthmon Takado read from his D-Arc, only taking the time to know their names since he had no time to read any other information. But given their names it was obvious they were aquatic Digimon. Gilman, get them, Kai yelled. Gilman nodded to his tamer's relative before jumping to Mantarayman and biting it. After seeing the burn mark on one of its fins, it was deduced to be the same one Gilman had hit with the pyrosphere earlier. The bite sent both Mantarayman and Gilman beneath the waves before Caesarman took on Dipthmon. Second 2. The lion-dog hybrid yelled as his paws glowed with a holy light and struck Dipthmon, hitting it in the face and sending it skidding back along the waves. Caesarman's mane then glowed before firing 10 solar beam arrows. T-die. The attack flew across the water and impaled Dipthmon through many parts of its body before glowing, and Dipthmon exploded into red flakes of data. Whereas Gilman, Takado asked. His question was immediately answered as Gilman flew out of the water from an attack by Mantarayman. Gilman then flipped in the air, and as he fell, Mantarayman burst forth from the seas and went to tackle its enemy once more. Pyrosphere. Gilman let loose a ball of heated oxygen and energy that resulted in a fireball that rocketed through the air and impacted with Mantarayman and sent it crashing back down into the waters. However, Mantarayman recovered quickly and sped along the ocean's surface. A large ball of yellow electricity built up between its jaws and then its whole body was suddenly coated with it. Torpedo ray. The electrically charged manta ray struck Gilman just as he was about to land and electrocuted the dinosaur Digimon and had him flying upwards into the sky. Don't worry Gilman, I'll save you, Takado said as he reached into his card case and pulled out a card. Digimodify Digivolution activate. Takado yelled as he swiped the card through his blue D-Arc. Digivolution. Gilman was surrounded by a swirling red egg of data. Gilman digivolved too. Gilman's skin then peeled away to reveal a darker red form that was patterned in a wireframe pattern. The skin then reattached itself to form a larger, more powerful form of Gilman. The egg of data exploded to reveal a larger version of Gilman, except the ears were now like spikes and 2 blade-like protrusion came from his elbows, and Gilman seemed to look a lot more reptilian looking with a mane of silver-white hair growing from the back of his head. Black band-like patterns with digicode on them were shown on his legs, forearms and around the thick part of his tail. The 0 unit was emblazoned on his feet and hands while the digital hazard symbol was located on his left shoulder. Growlman released a bestial roar before grabbing onto Mantarayman, and both large Digimon plummeted down beneath the blue waves of the ocean. Beneath the waters, the battle ensued as Growlman slashed Mantarayman across its back with his sharp claws before flipping and using his muscular tail to slam the aquatic Digimon down deeper into the waters. Growlman then used his tail to propel him quickly through the cold waters before appearing beneath Mantarayman, who recovered and tried to swim away. But Growlman grabbed the giant manta ray and pulled. Mantarayman came towards Growlman, who then bit down and ripped a large chunk of flesh out of the Digimon before his elbow blades glowed blue with energy as he let go. Double Dragon Slash. The dinosaur dragon gurgled before unleashing the attack that sent Mantarayman soaring through the water upwards before breaking the water's surface, to the surprise of Kai and Takado. Sugoi Kai muttered as he saw Growlman jump out and then opened his jaws. A large ball of flame materialized in the maw of the crimson-scaled Digimon before firing. Pyroblaster. The fireball impacted with Mantarayman, sending the already damaged Digimon through the air before disappearing as red flakes of data. Caesarman drawled out as he watched the island. Growlman swam alongside the boat before climbing onto the shore as Kai stopped the boat. Caesarman climbed out and Kaluman suddenly appeared out nowhere like he always did. Let's play, Kaluman said, resting on Growlman's head. Takado got off the boat with Caesarman, but then his eyes widened as he saw Kai about to climb out too. No, Kai, you have to stay here, Takado said. Kai looked shocked. But, Takado, no Kai, you promised that once the fighting started you would stay out of it. I don't want you getting hurt, Takado said. Kai looked at his cousin with shock before it turned to respect. I understand. Besides, I promised and I'm a man of my word, Kai said. Now go kick some Digimon ass for me. You got it, Takato said, beaming. The foxy grin of his sensei adorned on his face. Abandoned Okinawa factory. Growlman roared as he used his iron-hard head to bash down the steel door that blocked their way. Takato watched the steel door slide across the floor, sparks flying due to the friction before it stopped. You do know there was handle to slide it open? Takato asked with a sweat drop. Yeah, but bashing the door down is more fun, Growlman said with a chuckle. As the four entered the area, they surveyed it. The room looked like a large bowl-shaped dome of some kind as they entered, the walls curving up in an arc to make the bowl shape. However, upon entering, many large panels in the walls opened up and many large hoses began to fill the floor with a large volume of water. As the water reached Growlman's stomach in height, a figure jumped out of the water before diving back beneath it. Growlman scanned the area with his golden eyes before stopping and then lashing out with a slash that knocked the enemy out of the water. Takato quickly scanned it with his D-arc. An image of the Digimon appeared. It looked like a sea turtle with pale yellow skin and its back had a deep green shell with 3 spikes jutting out the shell like spines. Its 2 front fins were like saw blades, serrated and very sharp. Its beak was pink and it had pink hair like that of a mohawk. Archelaman, an armor-level Digimon. He defends himself with his hard shell and the knives on his hands. He is good at both attack and defense. His signature attack are his fin blades, Takato read before pocketing the Digivice. Growlman dodged to the side as Archelaman tried to slice his leg before the turtle spun back around and tried again. Growlman's elbow blades crackled with energy before he sliced downwards. Dragon Slash. His blue blades sliced the water and sent the water as well as Archelaman flying through the air. Growlman then ran forward and grabbed the armored Digimon and slammed it into the wall before throwing the turtle into the air, and then a fireball formed in his jaws. Pyroblaster. The fireball flew through the air and the ball of heated oxygen impacted with the turtle and it dissipated into red flakes of data. The area was suddenly drained of the water as it all flowed into the center of the room where a large hole lay. After all the water was sucked out, the hole was covered by a circular steel cover. Now that's the world's largest toilet bowl, Takato said. Caesarman then sniffed the air before turning to a large window, and the movement of figures could be seen. Caesarman sniffed the air again before growling. Me and me, I the holy Digimon said. Takato, Growlman and Kaluman looked at the lion-dog hybrid. Really? Where? Takato asked. Caesarman raised a paw and pointed at the window. How are we gonna get way up there? The tamer asked more to himself than anyone else. The group was silent before. Growlman got an idea. I have an idea, the red-scaled Digimon said with a toothy grin as he bent down low. Climb on. Meanwhile, on the other side of the window, inside the room that was shielded by the window, it was shown to be a high-tech lab. Inside there were a variety of machines and equipment that could make any scientist's mouth water. Also, it was surprisingly spacious, with a ceiling high enough to have a Tyrannoman stand up at its fully height and long enough for half of Sanduramon's body to fit in. It was a scientific dream come true. However, what was going on in the lab was not a dream, but a nightmare. Takedo, Minami's father, was being held against the wall by Tameshiro, the executive manufacturer of the V-Pet program. Next to him were 4 Digimon. The first was the size of an adult man and wore a pair of brown gloves and brown boots. It wore a large cloak that was green, with the edge of the sleeves and the bottom lining were in gold. On its face was a large mask of blue, red and gold material. The image of the mask's face was that of a beast with red eyes and long golden, gnarly teeth while the face was blue. This was Baronman. The second looked like a hula skirt-wearing monkey. Its face was covered by a long mask of red, blue, gold and green material. The face looked like an angry man. In the Digimon's hand was a large red boomerang that looked to be quite hefty. This was Sepikman. The third was a bat of some kind and was covered in blue and white fur. Its glowing red eyes scanned the man before it. In place of the hands at the edge of the wings and feet were scythe blades that looked like they could cut through bone. This was Pipisman. The last and 4th Digimon was similar to a cactus and wore an orange poncho over its half a body. It wore a sombrero and wore 2 red and black gloves on its hands. This was Ponchaman. Now give us the vaccine for the V-Pet, Tameshiro said. Minami, bound and gagged to a chair, watched as her father was held by his collar by the executive of the V-Pet company. Takedo spat in Tameshiro's face. Never, now go burn in hell where you belong, Takedo said. Minami's eyes widened as Tameshiro threw her father across the room and he slammed into the wall next to her. She turned and saw her father trying to stand. MMMFMFMFMFF. This was translated to be Aru-san. Had she not been gagged? Minami, don't worry. Won't let them hurt you, Takedo said as he stood to his feet. But when he did, Baronman grabbed the man by his throat and forcefully slammed him against the wall. Tell us where the vaccine is and if it's on your person, hand it over or your daughter. DORUMON gestured to Sepikman, who had appeared to Minami's right, patted his boomerang before slamming it against the steel wall, and left a rather large dent in it. Your daughter's head will end up like that wall except bleeding, DORUMON threatened. Takedo and Minami watched in fear before Takedo gulped. All right, Takedo said. However, before he could continue talking, a loud sound was heard outside the lab. Everyone thought the same thing, but Tameshiro voiced their thoughts. What the hell is going on? Tameshiro asked. His question was immediately answered as a large red blur rocketed through the glass window and destroyed it, smashing the thing into little itty-bitty pieces. Now then, where's Minami? Takedo yelled. Minami yelled, which translated to Takedo. Caesarman jumped off and tackled Ponchaman to the ground before biting down on his face and shook his head side to side like an angry dog before throwing the cactus-like Digimon upwards. Second 2. His paws glowed with golden light before Caesarman jumped into the air, and the holy Digimon slashed Ponchaman in half with the holy energy-powered claws, and then Ponchaman disappeared as red flakes of data. Baronman, Pippisman, and Sepikman charged Growlman, but Growlman was much larger and with just a roar. He stopped them in their tracks and blew them away literally, before he grabbed all three and threw them out of the window before firing a large fireball from his jaws. Pyroblaster. The fireball impacted and blew all three to smithereens as they left the real world as red flakes of data. As this happened, Tameshiro watched in shock at how quickly his minions had been defeated. Interesting, he mused. Caesarman quickly went towards Minami and unbound her as she removed the gag herself. Arigato, Caesarman, the brown-haired girl said as she petted the lion-dog hybrid Digimon. Caesarman nodded. Arigato for saving us, Takedo said to Takedo. No problem. Besides, it wasn't it was the Digimon. However, further conversation was futile as a large suction sound was heard. Everybody looked up to their surprise as they saw a large black and blue swirling mass. Then a yellow beam of light descended from the mass and the light vanished to reveal 7 figures. Takedo's eyes widened as he saw Naruto, Rika, Henry, Gargomon, Kyuubimon, Dorugomon and Gatomon all standing there. Yo, Naruto said with a wave, copying his former sensei. Yo, Takedo waved back in disbelief. How did you guys get here and why is there a giant portal in the ceiling? The blue D-arc-wielding tamer asked. A friend, the blonde replied before looking up and winking at Omniman, who nodded. The fight is yours now. Be careful, Digidstein, Omniman said for all to hear. Tameshiro chuckled as he remembered the voice all too well. Also, your Omniman's little helpers, are you the new Digidstein? Tameshiro asked as his form suddenly began to flicker between that of a human and that of a bat-winged ram. Blue electricity sparked as his appearance began to flicker to that of the ram. Hi, and you must be Mephistopheles, Naruto asked. Oh, you know my name, so introductions are not needed. Kukikuku, Mephistopheles chuckled. Naruto shuddered. The laugh was like that of Orochimaru's. Ararara. Caesarman roared as he raced towards the dark Digimon. However, Mephistopheles simply chuckled before holding up a hand and then catching Caesarman by his throat. Weak, Mephistopheles said before choke-slamming Caesarman. Caesarman. Minami screamed as she watched her alleged partner get hurt. Mephistopheles then picked up Caesarman before throwing him up and then performed a roundhouse kick that sent Caesarman flying towards the Tamers. Everyone quickly got out of the way as the lion-dog hybrid flew through the air, but was quickly stopped as Mephistopheles appeared on the other side of the room and face-planted the champion-level Digimon, and then tossed him away next to Minami. Caesarman. Takedo, update us. What's going on? Who are these two? Naruto ordered. Minami is the girl and that is her father there. They were captured by Tameshiro, the executive manufacturer of the V-Pet program, and apparently, I have now realized he's a Digimon. Takedo paused briefly before continuing. Minami was held hostage in order for her father to have them hand over what I assume would be the vaccine to the virus in the V-Pet program, Takedo informed his teammates. I see. Well, Mephistopheles, Naruto turned to the devil ram. You will fall. Hyukuku, we'll see about that. Mephistopheles spread his wings and took off. Let's take this outside. Naruto quickly grabbed Gatomon and jumped onto Dorugomon's back as the other tamers jumped onto their partners' backs and took off after the evil Digimon. Minami and Takedo watched as Caesarman glowed before reverting into a small dog with brown fur on top its head. Caesarman had reverted back into Labramon. Caesarman, Minami asked. Labramon chuckled. Actually, it's Labramon, Labramon said as he felt his life fading away. Please don't go. PP please. I've already lost one friend. Her mind flashed to an image of May drowning. I can't lose you now. Gomen Nasai Minami. No, Minami had tears in her eyes now and were now flowing like twin rivers from her tear ducts. May. Laberman smiled. I'm glad you called me that's the key to activate the vaccine and now I can go with a clear conscience. Takedo. High Takedo was freaking out. Digimon, the V-Pet program falling apart even though he expected that. His daughter being used as leverage. Keep Minami safe and I'm sorry for not doing so these past few days, Laberman said before he vanished as gold dust the vaccine spreading out throughout the atmosphere to stop the virus of the V-Pet. With the Tamers, the 4 Tamers and the 5 Digimon chased after Mephistomon before they stopped at an area on the opposite side of the island near the coast. Good, you followed, now come into my world. Mephistomon suddenly held up his hands and a dark pulse of energy rocketed from his body. A large tsunami formed and enveloped the entire island. The Tamers screamed, but stopped when the wave crashed down and they felt nothing. They looked around. Everything was floating, large battleships, rocks, rubble, buildings that hung from the sky and other odd things that didn't appear as if they were from the island, and the thing was that nearly everything was a mixture of purple and red. Where are we? Rika asked. You're in my digital world, the Devil Ram answered with an evil smile. Now, prepare to die. Mephistomon rushed the group as they jumped off their Digimon. The Digimon rushed forwards as well. Mephistomon quickly ducked under a gun punch from Gargomon before planting an uppercut to the trigger Happy Bunny, and then jumping and flipping and stopped mid-flip to grab Gargomon's head. Using amazing strength, the ultimate level Digimon picked up and threw the champion level at Kyubimon, sending the 9-tailed fox back before jumping back as Growlmon tried to hit him with his dragon slash. However, Ganomon appeared out of the smoke from the attack and stretched out her claws. Lightning Paw. The claws of the feline Digimon glowed white before refining itself into sharp blades of white. The attack struck home and Mephistomon grunted in pain as he was sent back. Nico Kick. Her glowing white foot then planted itself into the evil Digimon's stomach. She then threw him towards her reptilian boyfriend who caught him, and then Dorugumon planted Mephistomon into the ground before removing him from it and then throwing him into the air. Tower Metal. A sphere of steel surrounded by red, blue, and violet sparks of electrical charge. Mephistomon chuckled as he descended towards the ascending metallic sphere before opening his jaws and a dark cloud of mist escaped his lungs. Dark Cloud. The cloud enveloped the sphere before disintegrating it into nothing and managed to move to the side as Growlmon fired a pyroblaster. Mephistomon then landed in a crouch on the ground. Dragon Wheel. As he looked up he saw a large blue fire dragon attacking him. The attack sent him careening through the air before Gargomon came down upon him with glowing green Gatling guns. Bunny Pummel. The attack struck Mephistomon in the head. He made a crater in the ground as Gargomon dropped down on him with his full weight. Gargomon then backflipped as Growlmon jumped into the air. Pyroblaster. The large fireball impacted with Mephistomon's body, earning a scream of pain as Dorugumon fired his power metal attack. Gargomon then grabbed the down Devil Ram and threw him into the air, and met him up there. Gargomon then punched Mephistomon in the face with a deadly strike to the left of his face, and then the right before spinning and performing a roundhouse kick to the chest. Mephistomon flew through the air before Kyubimon appeared in the air. She flipped and her tails ignited with blue fire. All 9 tails slammed down on Mephistomon before she descended after him, and spread out her 9 extra appendages, each one alit with ghostly blue fireballs on the tip. Foxtail Inferno. Kyubimon released all 9 fireballs that impacted with the Devil Ram's body before Growlmon appeared right next to Mephistomon as he neared ground level. Growlmon's elbow protrusions glowed blue and crackled with energy. Dragon Slash. The elbow blade slashed Mephistomon and sent him flying through the air. Pyroblaster. The large fireball was launched from Growlmon's jaws and blasted Mephistomon into the air. A black blur flew after Mephistomon, and the blur was revealed to be Dorugumon. Dorugumon then grabbed Mephistomon, stopping him as his claws wrapped around his throat. Dorugumon then flew into the sky and threw the Digimon downwards. Naruto used one of those cards. Dorugumon thought to Naruto using the partner, Tamer telepathic. I gotcha, the blonde replied as he took out one of the 5 sovereign card with a picture of the legendary phoenix of the south, Jukiamon. Digimodify Jukyamon's blazing helix. Naruto slashed the card through Dorugumon's reddish-violet D-arc. Suddenly, a red aura surrounded Dorugumon before Dorugumon spread out his wings to its full extent and roared as his power skyrocketed. The aura took the shape of a large phoenix, and then Dorugumon opened his jaws, and a large blast of fire flew from Dorugumon's mouth. Blazing helix. Dorugumon roared. Naruto then took out Gatomon's D-arc and another card. Digimodify Omnimon's supreme cannon. Naruto swiped the card through the slit in the golden bronze D-arc. Gatomon held out her right arm as it converted into the shape of Metal Garurumon's head. Say goodnight, Supreme Cannon. Gatomon fired the attack and the ice blue beam rocketed towards Mephistomon's downed body and hit with a large explosion resulting. Ice and fire mixed to form a large explosion of red and blue. The Digimon panted as they watched the large explosion. Did we win? Growlman asked. I think so, Dorumon replied with a smirk. However, the Digimon and their tamers, their happiness was extremely short-lived as there was a giant black column of energy rising from the smoke cloud, dispersing it and showing the large column of darkness began to morph and take shape. Mephistomon Digivolve 2. The darkness suddenly formed into a large gray and purple behemoth. It had a purple humanoid-like body, except it was more demonized. Yellow markings tattooed its arms as two large, brown horns sprouted out of the side of its head in a 90-degree angle. Its entire lower body was like that of a horse, making the beast look like a centaur. The horse part of the body was covered in shaggy purple fur except from the thigh area, down. Yellow tattoos similar to that of those on the arms were on the legs, and its underside was yellow fur. A long, shaggy, purple tail swished behind the beast and two large brown, feathery wings stretched out from its humanoid back. Gulfman roared before stamping its hooves down on the ground, causing a large shockwave that caused all the champion-level Digimon to lose their balance. He digivolved into his mega form Gulfman. Takato said as he scanned the mega level with his blue D-Arc. Give us the info, Takato, Rika said. The mouth of his lower torso is said to be connected with an abyss in the dark area, and if inhaled, an opponent's digicore is smashed to pieces. Attacks are Black Requiem and Dead Scream. Takato read. Everyone, stay back from him. He's a one-hit kill Digimon. We gotta hit him with everything we got, no holding back. But how, we're only at champion level? Dorumon yelled to his tamer. Naruto growled before he looked around and smirked. There he is. Naruto used Shunshin and flickered over to Kalumon and grabbed him before using the body flicker jutsu to go back to his teammates. Kalumon used the crystal matrix, Naruto said as he remembered the words that Kalumon said when all the Digimon had made their ultimate digivolutions. Yay, fun time. The red upside-down triangle on Kalumon's forehead began to shine as the tamers all drew their D-Arcs. Naruto used a Kagebenshin to hold both Dorumon's and Gatomon's D-Arcs next to each other. The blue card was held in their hands before they slashed it through the D-Arcs. Naruto had held the D-Arcs vertically in line with each other so that he slashed the blue card in one fell swipe. Digimodify Matrix Digivolution activate. The tamers all yelled, Matrix Digivolution. Growlman Matrix Digivolve 2. A carbon copy of the Matrix crystal flew around Growlman before settling itself into the nose where the inverted 0 unit lay on Growlman's snout. The 0 unit glowed as Growlman underwent his transformation. Growlman grew in size and his torso was suddenly surrounded by an armor casing made of chrome digizoid. 2 vernier were attached to his shoulders, and an assault balancer extended like a cable from the back section of the torso armor. His arms were encased in black metal, and along the edges of the black metal casing were long, curved, chrome digizoid blades. A metal, muzzle-like armor was formed around its jaws, but it didn't act like a muzzle as he could still open and close his jaws. The harness for the blades were adorned with the symbol of the digital hazard, and the digi code on its stripes reads, which translated to digital monster. The digivolve form of Growlman roared before slashing its blades in a menacing way, yelling his name. War Growlman, Matrix Digivolution. Gatomon Matrix Digivolve 2. Gatomon glowed a bronze-gold color as her body lengthened and became more humanoid. Her tail retracted into her body and 8 angelic wings grew on her back. Her ears became a small pair of angelic wings that were connected to a steel helmet that covered her eyes and nose. Long, flowing blonde hair cascaded down her back from her head like a waterfall of gold. A white outfit covered her previously naked body, leaving only a bit of her stomach and her upper thighs visible. 2 wing-shaped cups covered her breasts in a makeshift bra of some sort, and a long pink ribbon with digicode printed along it was wrapped around her arms. A pair of galls that stretched to her forearms appeared, and finally a pair of boots. The one on her left looked like a regular high-heel boot that was apparently a part of the leotard-like bodysuit she was wearing, while the one on her right was relatively normal if you didn't count the fact it was completely covered with pure white feathers. Her ring from her tail became wrapped around her left ankle. Her 8 angelic wings flapped majestically. Angewomon, Dorumon Matrix Digivolve 2. Dorumon's entire body was encased in what looked like liquid metal, solidifying over his body. Dorumon's body was then changed within the metal cocoon, which could be seen from the external look of the metal covering. The metal then broke and revealed the ultimate level Digimon. The 2 front limbs grew longer, and then the dragon Digimon dropped onto all 4s. The tail lengthened and began to twist along the length, and at the tip was a large golden spike of some sort. The dragon's face had elongated, looking for reptilian looking. A large blade made the horn that grew from his snout. 2 pairs of steel-colored wings. The lining surrounding the wings was a darker shade of gray than the membrane. 5 golden rings lined the skin that surrounded the lining of the membrane, each having 1 sharp golden spike on the rings. The back pair of wings were slightly smaller than the frontal pair. The dragon was covered with red fur with black zigzag markings. The nose area, feet and underside of the dragon was snow white, just like the mane which ran down its back. The mane ending at the end of the long neck the dragon had. 4 gray, steel spikes jutted out of the neck of the ultimate level dragon Digimon, 2 on each side. The ears were more pointed. 3 long, sharp black claws poised to kill grew out of each foot, and its teeth were lined with many pearly white teeth. His crimson-red eyes glowed with power, along with the old interface that remained on his forehead before releasing a roar to heavens. DORUMON, Matrix Digivolution. Gargomon Matrix Digivolve 2. Gargomon fired a few glowing bullets as he was suddenly surrounded by a glowing field of data. His body then disintegrated into data before reforming. Gargomon grew taller, skinnier, and his leg muscles more lean and muscular. Then the bullets he fired before encircled him before forming armor. 2 green and silver armor-like boots were worn on its feet. A green orb-like armor covered its lower abdominal muscles, groin, and a part of the upper thigh area. The red triangle from Gargomon's forehead was placed in the center of the orb-shaped armor. Black arm stockings covered his arms as 2 large missile launchers covered his hands and lower arms. 3 crimson points came out of the rim of the launchers in a triangle formation, making it look like claws. 2 large shoulder pads, made of green and silver armor, were formed. His ears were extended and covered in green armor that was tipped red. Its chest and head, except for the face area, was covered with green and silver armor also. A long, sharp horn formed from the forehead area of the armor plating. Finally, a large missile launcher-looking weapon was attached to its back. The Digimon's large blue eyes glowed before a mouth covering formed from the head armor. Rapidmon, Matrix Digivolution. Kyubimon Matrix Digivolve 2. Kyubimon was encircled by blue flames and a shining white light. Her form suddenly lengthened and became more human-looking. Violet pants formed on her legs as a white, long-sleeved robe-like shirt formed on her upper body that covered her large hand-like paws. A black hat was worn on the Fox Digimon's head, with violet streams of cloth coming down from it. The yin-yang symbol lay in the center of the shirt, and a belt was worn around the waist that attached a large paintbrush to her back. On a long piece of cloth that extended from the shirt from the stomach area to the knees, a golden Sanskrit word was written, meaning truth. The large blonde, white-tipped tail waved behind her. She spun on large feet-like paws before allowing her hands to be seen and making the Japanese hand sign for ram. Tailmon, the 5 ultimate level Digimon, stared at the 1 gargantuan mega level. Okay everyone, all out attack. DORUMON said. Atomic blaster. 2 powerful red laser beams flew from the 2 gun ports on Growlmon's chest armor and mixed into 1 powerful beam of crimson. Tri-beam. Rapidmon's body was made into a Y formation before a green beam of energy flew from the armored rabbit's body in the shape of an inverse triangle. Talisman of Light. Tailmon drew the Sanskrit symbol for light in the air with her magical, giant paintbrush. The symbol became black before floating in the air, and then imprinting itself on the chest of Gulfman. Celestial Arrow. Agumon formed her holy bow and pulled the string of light to form her powerful arrow of celestial energy, and then fired it at Gulfman. Metal Meteor. DORUMON flew into the air before releasing a small ball of steel from his jaws. The steel sphere grew until it was at least 10 times the size of the gargantuan dragon. The metal orb flew towards Gulfman, burning up as it made friction with the air, and descended towards the mega-level Digimon. The 5 powerful attacks flew towards Gulfman. Black Requiem. Gulfman roared and then opened its second mouth and launched a large black blast of energy that impacted all 5 of the attacks. And then the attacks battled for dominance. Kusa, 1 attack is holding back all 5 of ours, Takato grumbled. Takatomon, we should use that attack with Tailmon and Rapidmon. Growlmon cried out to his tamer as he continued to hold his own with the atomic blaster. Rika, Henry, should we? The brown-haired tamer asked. The red-haired and the blue-haired tamers looked at each other and nodded. Naruto looked at his fellow tamers with a confused look. Oh, am I missing something? What is this secret move? You're not the only one who has been training, Naruto-kun, Rika said with a wink. The tamers then turned as a large explosion formed after. Okay Tailmon, Rapidmon, Growlmon, do it. The 3 preteens commanded their Digimon partners. The 3 nodded and DORUMON and Agumon looked confused as they, along with their tamer, watched as Growlmon, Tailmon and Rapidmon changed into crystallized energy masses. Growlmon was red, Tailmon was gold, and Rapidmon was green. Okay, one-hit co-shots. Takato, Rika and Henry yelled. Grauman, Tailmon and Rapidman suddenly fused together and then they changed to form a multicolored phoenix that equaled the size of Golfman. Naruto, Dorugraman and Angewomon watched in shock as the large phoenix of pure energy screeched. While they said dumbly, "Now Akuzo," Takato yelled. Trinity burst. The phoenix screeched in the combined voices of Grauman, Tailmon, and Rapidman as it flew towards Golfman. Dark Requiem. Golfman released a more powerful blast of dark energy to combat the phoenix, and the two clashed. "Keep going," the phoenix said to itself, but began to be pushed back. Celestial Arrow. Angewomon fired her arrow of light, and it mixed with the Trinity burst and made it more powerful. "It's not enough," Angewomon noticed. Dorugraman smirked before taking to the skies and diving down towards Golfman and then readied his tail. Bloody Tower. His sharp tail impaled Golfman through the eye did not only take out. Dorugraman dragged the tail along the length of Golfman's face causing the large beast to roar in pain and while it was still impaled so that a large, bloody wound formed from the attack. "Do it now," Naruto yelled to the phoenix. Ikizuo. The phoenix screeched louder as Golfman lost its focus from the Bloody Tower attack and then pushed through the Dark Requiem, dispersing it, and crashed into Golfman's body. Golfman roared in pain and anguish before the phoenix went straight through Golfman's body, and the mega-level Digimon roared before exploding into red flakes of data. The phoenix let out one last screech before splitting back into the 3 ultimate-level Digimon. "We won," the Tamers said with glee. The Tamers hugged and in Naruto and Rika's case, kissed each other. The Digimon reverted back to their rookie forms and fell to their knees, but still smirked at their victory. "Good job you 5, Naruto said to the Digimon as the 4 Tamers walked up to them. "Hey, we're your Digimon, we wouldn't fail you," Dorumon said as he swished his fox-like tail in confidence. "Hi," Ganomon said with a wink. "I vote for Victory Bread." Gilman yelled. "Cream Puffs." Kalumon yelled as he floated down from the sky as the fake digital world created by Golfman vanished and changed back into the island. "Now come on, my cousin Kai is waiting back on the boat," Takato said. "You have a cousin?" Naruto asked, causing the group to sweat drop at Naruto's absent-mindedness. Meanwhile in the digital world dark prison, Lusamon smirked within his prison as he saw the destruction of Golfman through the orb that he used to watch over the blonde-haired tamer. "Excellent," the fallen angel Digimon said with a dark chuckle. "Now that Golfman is gone, the plan can be initiated. Time to contact the Sovereign One." Lusamon's purple tattoos shone with a deep purple glow along with the 2 wristbands and his ankle rings in a golden color. Jukuaomon the dark angel spoke into his crystal ball. "Oh my young advisor, what do you want?" Jukuaomon replied using his thoughts. "Ready Vikaralamon and Makuramon my lord." Jukuaomon-sama, Lusamon told his master. "You mean is it time already?" Jukuaomon asked. Lusamon smirked and nodded. Even though Jukuaomon couldn't see him, he knew the phoenix knew his movements. "Hi, it is time for in 1 month we retrieve the light of Digivolution." So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 8. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author KitsuneDragon on FANFICTION.net. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.